800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
When the power goes out, life stops. Heat, AC, fridge, phones, all gone. But with a Generac home standby generator from True Power Generator Service, your home powers back on automatically, so you're never left in the dark. Book your consultation today at TruePowerGenerator.com. That's TruePowerGenerator.com. Plus, 560 listeners get a free 10-year extended warranty. Terms and conditions apply. Call for details. True Power Generator Service and Generac. It's not just a generator. It's a power move.
Sean Thompson here, and I'm with attorney Bert Hochberg from the law firm of Schiller, Ducanto, and Fleck. We're talking about divorce arbitration. This is not really a new, or is it a new, innovative way to go through divorce?
Arbitration has been around for decades. It's completely legit and available to resolve divorce cases. The litigants and their lawyers sign an arbitration agreement. They identify what the issues are, and we set up dates, and we determine what experts and witnesses there may be. Arbitration is a hearing, a trial that is intended to finish a case efficiently with limited appeal, with a binding decision. And it's confidential, so it has some great characteristics.
I think it's a unique alternative to divorce. For more information, please visit sdflaw.com and type Bert Hochberg into the search box. That's sdflaw.com or call direct 773-255-6150.
This is Ed Morrissey of HotAir.com for Town Hall. Senate Democrats keeping the government shut down are playing checkers and forcing Senate Republicans to play chess. This week, Chuck Schumer followed up No King's Weekend by claiming that the voters blame the GOP for the shutdown. Democrats leaked internal polling to that effect, except that the data actually showed a virtual tie on the question. And in the end, it's not even the correct question. Schumer initiated the shutdown to appease his radical fringe, who want total obstruction rather than reasoned governance. Most voters, however, want normal operations of both Congress and government. Regardless of what internal polls tell Schumer, Democrats have lost ground on polling on next year's midterms, and the GOP has almost closed the gap in 3 weeks of the shutdown. In their haste to appease the radical left, Democrats have opposed common sense policies on immigration, crime, the Israel-Hamas conflict, DEI practices, transgender policies, and more. Republicans have won this chess game by default. They should let Schumer keep playing checkers, and doing so badly.
Your local State Farm agent, Anthony DeGrotto, combines good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates. You can combine your home, auto, and life insurance to not only save you money, but give you the peace of mind you've been looking for. Anthony DeGrotto is your go-to agent in Chicagoland. He and his team will work for you to provide the best service you expect at the price you want. Combine your home, auto, and life insurance today. Anthony DeGrotto will help you mix and match things perfectly. His State Farm office is a top pick 2024 Daily Herald Reader's Choice Award winner. He's a proud supporter of Tunnel to Towers and like-minded as you. His State Farm agency is currently looking to add members at their Roselle office. Call Anthony at 847-895-1500 today or visit DeGrottoSF.com. That's DeGrottoSF.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements.
Hey Chicagoland, your trusted friend Jeff here from JeffBuysYourHouse.com. Over the past few months, I've shared how our veteran-led team serves Chicagoland homeowners. Today, I want to share with you what your neighbors are saying about working with us. Like Mary in Downers Grove, who wrote, "They listened to my concerns about moving from my home of 30 years and created a timeline that worked for me." Or Tom and Carol Stream, who said, "Their team helped me sort through 40 years of memories with respect and patience." This is why hundreds of your neighbors have given us a 5-star Google review and an A+ rating with the BBB. We don't just buy houses. We help people through life's transitions with understanding and care. No repairs needed, no cleanout required, and always on your timeline. Ready to work with the home buying team your neighbors trust? Sell your house to the trusted source by calling us at 630-895-9530. That's 630-895-9530 or JeffBuysYourHouse.com.
You need a construction company, but who?
Call Croscom.
a construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, Crosscom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Crosscom.
Call Crosscom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
Call Crosscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Crosscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Crosscom.
Crosscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Crosscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high-quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be sunny with a high of 54. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a low of 38. Tomorrow, we'll see sun peeking through high clouds, reaching a high of 56. Sunday will be partly sunny with a high of 59. Monday brings cloudy skies and breezy conditions in the afternoon with a high of 57. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. I mean, I can't be surprised by this being made some sort of existential threat to our democracy, but it just shows you that even the smallest opportunity to pillory something that Trump is doing will be taken by the Democrats to try to turn it into a constitutional crisis. And of course, I'm talking about the big, beautiful ballroom. What else would I be talking about? This is the latest sign of the dictatorial takeover of America. Trump privately financing a $250 million ballroom that'll be like the biggest corporate space in America. And the reactions from the left, I mean, they really are parodies of themselves. They make satire very difficult. Mark Halperin on his podcast took up the issue, including a tweet from Neera Tanden, who's, Joe Obama, actually going back to Clinton, flack. Also ran the big Center for American Progress, Soros-funded neo-Marxist nonprofit. This was Halperin's take on the hysterics from the left, the latest hysterics from the left. I mean, do they offer anything other than hysterics?
This is one of the most bewildering moments in the decade-long reaction of the resistance. They seem to look at the construction photos as if they show the wreckage of Trump purposely bombing an orphanage. That's how people are reacting to this. Now, again, there may be serious questions to be raised about what he said previously about the construction, the norms of what a president is allowed to do with or without the requisite approvals. From a historical point of view, people may say you shouldn't be knocking down the East Wing to build something new. I mean, I would not minimize any of these issues at all for anybody to raise. But the emotion for Neera Tanden, a very smart person, to say that this is going to impact the election.
This is going to sway independents their way. And of course, I mean, it's full on. It's not just that this is unprecedented, which it's not, that it's some sort of tyrannical gambit, which it's not, that this is going to impact the elections, which is not. It's also the opportunity for lawfare against any who would dare to support this project. I'm talking about privately, because this is being privately financed. Hakeem Jeffries.
It's highly doubtful that it's legal. We haven't been able to find any congressional authority for it or any executive authority. And more likely, this is part of what Donald Trump has been doing since day one of his presidency, running the largest pay-to-play scheme in the history of the country, and probably soliciting donations from people who've got business before the United States government. And all of this is going to have to be investigated. It will. All of this will have to be uncovered. It will. And these people are going to be held accountable, no matter how long it takes. That's going to be the reality of the situation. And that's our warning to all of these people participating in this scheming to manipulate taxpayer dollars and, of course, to destroy the people's house. The White House belongs to the American people. It doesn't belong to Donald Trump.
So that's the claim, huh? People making private donations are scheming to manipulate taxpayer funds somehow. No details there. Not to mention underwriting the destruction of the White House, because there's never been any sort of renovations, additions, change-outs done. And there's no legal authority for this. Hakeem Jeffries, as I've said many times before, is just very ill-equipped for the job. Even just in terms of being a demagogue, he's not even good at that. I don't expect anybody on the left to pay any particular mind to underlying precedents, the rule of law, proportionality. I don't expect that. But at least be decent at being a flack for your party, and he's not even that. Caroline Levitt will help Hakeem Jeffries out with the legal basis, some historical context.
Again, I would just add, can any president do such a thing to the White House grounds? There have been many presidents in the past who have made their mark on this beautiful White House complex. This briefing room, as you all know, was not once a briefing room. It was a swimming pool. There have been presidents who have completely torn down the executive mansion. If you look at what President Truman did, some of the photos of the construction project that took place in those years, I think sitting here today, we're all grateful for those efforts and the modifications that happened at that time. And again, in due time, the East Wing is going to be more beautiful and modern than ever before. And in addition, there will be a big, beautiful ballroom that can hold big parties and state visits for generations to come.
I think I'd like the White House press briefing room to go back to being a swimming pool. I would do that if I were president. But she continued. She had a little slideshow. Did Caroline Levitt, the White House spokeswoman.
This is the construction of the West Wing in 1902. Look at this, the construction of the West Terrace in 1902. These images look quite similar to what you and the American people are seeing today, the construction of the East Terrace as well. You look at the construction of the West Wing expansion in 1934. So look, this is a legal opinion that's been held for many years. Look at, this is 1950. That looks a lot like what you were seeing today.
Can he demolish anything he wants?
What do you think that rubble is? How did that rubble get there?
Right, so I'm asking.
Yeah, so previous presidents can demolish, and then you have to submit plans to one of these, commissions to review the plans, and then you move forward with the construction project. I mean, again, when this was first announced, I wasn't the biggest fan. I'm still not, even though it's being privately financed. It's just sort of the idea of a big garish corporate space. I mean, we focus too much on building monuments to our government and to our political spaces, political institutions in public spaces, I should say. So this is not because I'm a cheerleader for this, but I mean, the histrionics from the left, the hypocrisy is just so tiresome and quotidian, frankly. And not to mention the left. I mean, there's hypocrisy on the fronts we were just describing, and then the hypocrisy of the left wanting to preserve our history. Oh my goodness, the People's House and the history of the East Wing and so on and so forth. Senator Josh Hawley chided CNN's Manu Raju about that. I mean, sort of the eye-rolling. Can you get a grip, please?
What about just uprooting this is an iconic building?
Manu, I will just say this. I made this point yesterday, that I hear all of a sudden from my liberal friends that they're very concerned about our history. Really, these are the same people who tore down every statue they could get their hands on in the last 4 years. Christopher Columbus, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt. They didn't have any concern for history then. Now all of a sudden, like, the facade of the East Wing is iconic. Oh, give me a break. I mean, give me a break.
It really is a give me a break moment. Excuse Josh Howley's Nell Carter. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line and text line. Oh, and then there's this little gem from a bygone era. You have to go into the Wayback Machine all the way to 2010. This is CNN, Manu Raju's network, reporting on a development during the Obama presidency.
Sounds like you're building another wing to the White House, but we appreciate you keeping your focus.
You can't even imagine, TJ. It's going to happen for the next 2 years. All of the banging, the jackhammering, the dust, the confusion, the noise of all places to do construction is happening right here, the front lawn of the White House.
It's a 4-year renovation project. Estimated cost, $376 million.
And that's when $376 million was real money. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line. Even the Wall Street Journal ed board, often critical of Trump, felt compelled to opine. Take a breath, folks. There really is a case for a larger hall at the White House for holding big state dinners and other events without having to pitch enormous tents on the South Lawn. Mr. Trump's taste in decor runs toward garish, and there can be reasonable complaints about historical preservation, the architectural footprint, the lack of transparency on the private funding of the project, and the like. But adding a ballroom to the White House isn't destroying it, much less democracy. And controversy over such renovation is almost as old as the Republic. The nonprofit White House Historical Association has an enlightening essay on the subject written by Stuart McLaurin. On these, in this, on the editorial page, I should say. And they just go through other, precedents and disagreements. Thomas Jefferson's edition of the East and West colonnades, quote, faced immediate criticism for their cost and perceived extravagance. That's from the Stuart McLaurin piece. Federalists in Congress said the columned walkways had a whiff of aristocracy, unbefitting the building's democratic simplicity and so forth. So, different architectural tastes and so forth. It's all fair game. The Obama land, playground, golf course, library, Imperial Palace, that's supposed to be privately financed too, but a lot of public support for that. No hue and cry. Not to mention, you want a critique. You want some architectural differences of opinion on the brutalist palace that is going up on the lake in honor of one President Obama. Well, actually, Trump had something to say about it earlier in the week. Where's Trump on that? There
the Obama Presidential Library. I'm wondering if you've seen
help.
Have you seen pictures of the architecture? And
yeah, I did. It's not too pretty. No, but it's closed. It's stopped. They ran out of money. It means building a library / museum. You call it some museum, and usually they call it library and museum. That's the official name. And they're stuck. And he wanted only women and DEI to build it. Well, that's what they got. And the construction workers are standing out there and saying, we want to be able to build it. I built a great building in Chicago, as you know, a big, beautiful building, one of the tallest buildings in the country. And we got it built very quickly, very well. And we used the construction workers of Chicago. They're great workers. They're great construction people. And I suggested he get them involved, but they're hundreds of millions of dollars over budget, and I think it stopped. I'm reading these terrible stories, but that's the way our country was run under President Obama, too. Nobody knew it.
Yeah, incompetence and the associated cost overruns to build something that is, the movie was decent, but the architecture I'm not really a fan of. And some people aren't a fan of the garishness, but you can have like artistic differences without taking it to the place that MSNBC did. Of course they did. Or is it MS Now? Whatever. Nicole Wallace and Alex Wagner, listen to this.
I mean, Alex, it's not his house is probably the single best distillation of what's so unsettling about this, but it's also un-American what he plans to do, right? Like what's going to go up in its place is not anything that we're used to seeing here. Here's a side-by-side of Trump's rendition of a ballroom with the Winter Palace Ballroom in St. Petersburg. Russia.
Yeah, Russia. I mean, autocrats have a similar aesthetic.
Mm-hmm. He was inspired by Putin and the Winter Palace since they're buddies, and he's the Manchurian candidate. This is all evidence of more Russian collusion, is it? I mean, unhinged doesn't even begin to describe it. A text from 815. I'm sure future Democrat presidents will refuse to use the ballroom. Oh, of course, I'm sure. They'll be too offended to use it, won't they? Or they'll knock it down and build their own ballroom without any such hand-wringing from their fellow travelers when they do. Coming up at 5:38, we'll have the latest on the latest tragic semi-truck crash, killing 3 at the hands of someone in this country illegally. 5:38, now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 38 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Leaders on both sides of the aisle are sending condolences to former state Senator Darren Bailey's family after 4 members died in a helicopter crash. Bailey was a GOP nominee for governor in 2022 and is also running for the Republican nomination in 2026. Bailey's son, daughter-in-law, and 2 grandchildren all died in a crash in Montana Wednesday night. Bailey's potential rival, Governor J.B. Pritzker, says the news is devastating. The Cook County Board of Commissioners have approved a $20 million grant to the University of Illinois Board of Trustees to fund costs associated with the purchase and installation of a cryogenic facility at PsiQuantum. That's the anchor tenant of the Illinois Quantum and Microelectronics Park. PsiQuantum has received hundreds of millions of dollars in tax incentives from Illinois, Cook County, and the City of Chicago governments. This news report is sponsored by Blindster.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now.
If you listen to the mainstream media and the Democrats, you'd think it was a sin to be black and conservative. Well, John Anthony blows up that perception every week on Black and Right. Join John tomorrow afternoon at 4 when he pushes back against the left and its regressive, progressive agenda that tries to dictate how people should think or feel about politics. Listen to Black and Right tomorrow afternoon at 4 right here on AM 560. The Answer.
Perhaps you're a collector, or perhaps all of a sudden you have a collection. Maybe it's an inheritance. How do you know what it's worth? This is Sean Thompson for Donley Auction. The market for antiques and collectibles is changing all the time. What is your collection worth right now? Well, I've got an easy way to find out. It's simple. You contact Donley Auctions with their worldwide audience of live and in-person auctions. They have a good idea of how to tell you exactly what it's worth at exactly right now. They're ready to put top dollar in your pocket. The bigger the collection, the better. Go to DonleyAuctions.com and get the info on all things that they buy and sell to have an idea of exactly what Donley does and how much they need your collection. They have so many buyers, it's a great time to sell. Just simply make a phone call. Donley has traveled all over the country to pick up collections. Just call and talk to the people at Donley Auctions at 815-923-7000. Donley Auctions is your trusted partner in turning your collections into cash. DonleyAuctions.com.
President Trump has made some pretty amazing claims since he's taken his seat as president. He's delivering on what he promised. On Inauguration Day, Trump's very first declaration was,
"The golden age of America begins right now. From this day forward, our country will flourish."
Consider this. Since the election, gold has shot up hundreds of dollars per ounce, shattering all-time record highs. Fox Valley Coins does not pretend to know the future, but they do know that if you're buying or selling gold or silver, they are the place to do it. These are some of the top reasons people choose a dealer. You want a national dealer with a local presence you can deal with face-to-face. You want a large selection, the best prices, and great service. You want to walk in with cash and walk out with the best product. You want to deal with legacy dealers with integrity. Whether buying or selling or just one valuation, Fox Valley Coins is your answer for choosing a dealer. Visit Fox Valley Coins, 1 light north of I-88 on Route 59 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. FoxValleyCoins.com. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
Want to see if you could pay less in taxes? Try the quick and easy tax calculator at willsave.com. Yes, a free tax calculator. That's WILSAVE.com. Calculate how you could keep more of your hard-earned money and give less to Uncle Sam, especially in retirement. Get your free tax analysis today at willsave.com. And don't forget to tune in to Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman every Saturday morning at 8, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need Hair Volume from New Nordic. Available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be sunny with a high of 54. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a low of 38. Tomorrow, we'll see sun peeking through high clouds, reaching a high of 56. Sunday will be partly sunny with a high of 59. Monday brings cloudy skies and breezy conditions in the afternoon with a high of 57. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, and many more. Get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft. So, picking up on this story out of California. The story out of California of another truck driver in this country illegally. I believe he's a Sikh Indian, as was the truck driver in Florida on the turnpike that made that illegal U-turn and killed those, I think it was Haitian migrants. Well, here, some of you, I'm sure, have seen the video. It's pretty terrible. This guy driving the semi just doesn't stop. He's on a straight line in the middle lane, and traffic is backed up. Not unusual in California. He doesn't stop. He just rams into and plows through 3 cars before sort of veering off towards the side of the road. 3 people were killed. He's in the country illegally. He crossed in 2022 and was released into the country under the Biden administration. Here's Caroline Levitt with the receipts.
Yes, I can confirm that California gave this individual a license, and it is something that the Department of Transportation has already looked into. I know Secretary Duffy, who's doing a phenomenal job, has spoken on this many times in the crackdown that the Department of Transportation is taking on these licenses that are wrongfully being issued to people who clearly do not deserve to uphold these positions. As for this case in California, on October 22nd, ICE lodged an immigration detainer for this individual following his arrest by local authorities in California on charges, as you know, of manslaughter while intoxicated and driving under the influence. He killed 3 people, and he first entered the United States in 2022 through the southern border, and he was released into our country by the previous administration. So now ICE has lodged a separate detainer for this individual, and these tragedies are following a disturbing pattern of these criminal illegal aliens being issued commercial vehicle licenses. And so, yes, the Department of Transportation is absolutely cracking down on that.
Well, the Department of Transportation needs to crack down on it, and so does the Department of Justice. Fox News reporting about a federal audit on the issuance of CDL licenses in California that found the following.
A federal audit found California had issued 62,000 CDLs to drivers who entered illegally, John, or do not have a permanent legal status as required by the feds. California sanctuary laws prohibit asking applicants their immigration status. Governor Newsom said there's not a problem. Back to you.
Did I hear you right? Did you say 62,000?
That's correct.
Oh, my goodness.
It's a federal audit.
Oh, my goodness. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Oh, my goodness, indeed. And, I don't know, I'm seeing a lot of chatter about this. People listening who are truck drivers. I know we have many who call in regularly. Feel free to inform my understanding. But it seems like there are a number of Indian American companies, trucking companies, maybe specifically Sikh Indian American companies that are hiring Sikh Indians who maybe some are in this country legally and maybe some are not. And Sikhs are, I mean, this is not a religious thing. It's not an ethnic thing. Sikhs are Christians. But it's an illegal immigration thing. It's are you qualified to drive a 20,000-pound rig thing without hurting people? And seems like 62,000 licenses in California where there's questions about understanding of the, ability to speak English, understanding of the language, so recognition of traffic signs and signals. That was a discussion with respect to the Florida Turnpike truck driver, who I believe failed his CDL, if I remember correctly, failed his CDL test 10 times before being issued it, including in California. So there's a nexus to California here with a Florida case, and now we have an actual California case. I'm not surprised when you have 62,000 licenses you've issued and you're not allowed to ask whether or not the person is here legally. So when we talk about sanctuary state policies, like here in Illinois, it's a lot more comprehensive than people ordinarily might consider. Oh, sanctuary policies just mean that, local law enforcement isn't going to work with federal law enforcement. They have to do federal law enforcement as it pertains to immigration law enforcement. They're going to have to do their own thing. They're not going to get in anybody's way, but you have to do their own thing. They're not going to cooperate. You can't go to the jail. They won't honor detainers. That sort of thing. Well, it's a little bit worse than that, isn't it? When you're providing you're credentializing people that are here illegally and giving them privileges that are afforded American citizens who still have to pass a certain tests to qualify for something like a CDL license, of course, and you're just sort of waving them through for political reasons at the expense of public safety, as we're seeing with a number of these anecdotes. And to try to I don't understand how big the scale of the problem is. I'm not sure. But I know when you're issuing tens of thousands of licenses to people here illegally, you're not enhancing public safety. I know that. Otherwise, what's the point of the test? What's the point of having any qualifications to have a commercial driver's license if it doesn't matter? You can just issue them willy-nilly to people who may or may not understand the language, may or may not understand traffic signs and signals, may or may not know how to drive, actually know how to drive an 18-wheeler. Why have any standards at all? Just like per the left, why make any distinctions between citizens and non-citizens? People can just come and go here as they please on their own terms, and that's it. Simple, right? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line. Marvin, Burlington, Wisconsin.
Good morning. I've had a CDL for decades, since the very beginning when they instituted the regulations. And it used to be not an issue to, if you had experience, they'd issue you one. Well, now, if you want a CDL, you have to go to school. Out here in Wisconsin, it's thousands of dollars to obtain, to go through the classes and get trained. So these people coming over the border in 2022, who's giving them or paying their thousands of dollars worth of schooling? Is it the companies that are going to go hire them and say, okay, we'll pay you for the school, then you're going to work for us for so many years, and they're not even citizens. So there's a lot of fraud going on here if this is what's going on.
Yeah, okay.
It is dangerous as hell. 80,000 pounds is what the legal load limit for most states.
Okay, 80,000 pounds. All right, I was off by a factor of 4.
Sir.
Thanks for the correction. All right, good. Even more to the point.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for the call, Marvin. Well, yeah, and which is how you can understand. I mean, that was a horrific crash. If you saw the video in California, I mean, these people had no chance. One of the victims identified. I guess it was 2. I think it was this gentleman and his wife. Yes, there's this gentleman and his wife, according to KTLA in L.A. Former high school basketball coach Clarence Nelson, he coached at Pomona High School. And, and this is a black gentleman. And I say that only because of the identitarian bent of the left. They're always focused on race. Just like, how many people really know that the people that died on the Florida Turnpike were Haitian migrants? How many people are going to know Clarence Nelson, African-American gentleman, was one of the people killed by this illegal immigrant on the highway in California? Because they want to make it all black and brown. It's not to mention the idea there are no black and brown ICE agents or CPB agents, which of course is absurd. They want to make this like they do all the time, white versus black and brown, right? How many times have we heard all these people are doing is targeting black and brown people just because they're black and brown? Meanwhile, black and brown people are losing their lives at the hands of people in this country illegally. And they have what to say about that? Mike in Union, you're in Chicago's Morning Answer.
I just think to high heaven like George Ryan licenses for bribes.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Only in this country can you teach people that aren't citizens how to fly airplanes and give them driver's licenses, while we as American citizens and taxpayers have to jump through hoops and are held to a high account. Incredible, Dan. Thanks, brother.
Thanks for the call, Mike. Yeah, and I mentioned this when we were talking about the Florida Turnpike crash that took the lives of those Haitian migrants. Talking about Illinois, we know all about this licenses for CDL licenses for bribes. And the result of that was an illegal immigrant in this country with a fraudulently obtained CDL. Didn't know how to properly maintain his truck. He had a tailgate assembly that was loose, and it came apart, and it pierced the gas tank of Reverend Scott and Janet Willis's minivan, and it burned up a half a dozen of their children. And it took down a governor, which it should have. That's the thing. At least back in that day, even in Illinois, that sort of corruption that leads to that sort of loss of human life was punished. And by the way, there were a lot of Republicans that turned on George Ryan, too, myself included. Today, who on the left is turning on J.B. Pritzker for inflicting the same loss and degradation of human life, for even more grotesque policies than George Ryan's penty anti-corruption? Phil in Maryville.
Hey, morning. These illegals are getting hired by these companies because they know they could hire them for cheap slave labor. But, I remember during George Ryan, that big scam when all the people were buying CDLs and he got locked up and some drivers got locked up. And now the Democrats are just basically legalizing corruption. And this was a major thing back in the day that a governor got locked up for. So what about Gavin Newsom getting locked up for it, just like George Ryan?
Well, thanks for the call, Phil. I mean, yeah. At some point, the legality of not asking for immigration status with respect to a commercial driver's license is an interesting one. I don't know if it's been challenged at the state level per California state constitution. But at some point, when you suspend the rule of law, it would be an interesting pursuit to see if the sovereign immunity of a politician for the political decisions they make could be pierced. We're getting closer. Oh, and Pam Bondi's got something to say about that, which we'll tackle next hour. Let me throw this into the mix, too, for the conversation. I'll tell you what, Seattle's got nothing on Hanover Park, or maybe Hanover Park's got nothing on Seattle. Our colleague in sound, Jason Rance, has got a show out there in Seattle and Portland. The King County Adult and Juvenile Detention Department has acknowledged that at least 38 of its corrections officers were hired and certified despite failing to meet the immigration eligibility requirement under state law. And the county is continuing. You literally have, the illegal aliens running the prison. You think they're going to cooperate with ICE when it comes to detainers? I mean, even if Seattle wasn't a sanctuary city, which of course it is, the county is continuing to employ most of them. Oh, sure, they're going to continue in their operations. We don't want to jeopardize the safety of the operation of the juvie center while an investigation is pending and conversations are happening. A whistleblower filed a complaint alleging questionable hires may top more than 100. Under the state code in Washington state, the state may not certify a corrections officer unless they are U.S. citizens, lawful permanent residents, or individuals covered under DACA. But rather than admit the error, according to Rance, and fix the hiring vetting process, the Juvenile Detention Department is just going to challenge the state law, arguing they should be able to hire corrections officers with work visas. Do some of these people even have work visas? Is it work visas under temporary protected status, and thus that status could be lifted and those visas with them? I mean, just wow. 38 corrections officers. I mean, you literally have the metaphorical inmates running the asylum in Seattle. Craig in Mount Greenwood.
Oh, hey, Dan, thanks for taking my call. I got 2 points. So first of all, I'm a CDL holder. I've had it for decades and decades ago. I had to study a book that's real thick and take a test, 150 questions, road test, quick thing, turn here, back up here, all this stuff. Okay, so we had to do a constant P test. I wore my zipper out, basically giving a test for drug tests and all that kind of thing constantly. Medical tests every year. They don't do nothing. Okay, now that truck can be reclassified as a damn assault truck. That truck, you have no idea the damage that thing can do and how many people and carnage and killing and destruction that truck can do. Listen, they want to talk about what AR can do and everything, which is thing. They got to get a taste of their own business here. I mean, when you talk about dangerous things, unbelievable.
Thanks for the call, Craig. George in Naperville.
Yes, for illegals to qualify for CDLs in California, maybe it's similar to what Kittyland had. You just had to be a certain height, reach that line. For the bump.
Thank George. I'm just thinking about Craig, what Mount Greenwood, what damage 18-wheeler can do. I saw maximum overdrive. I get it. By the way, this is a development that has not gotten that much attention, but deserves attention because it matters in cases like this. This guy in California, this truck driver, killed 3. Is now facing manslaughter charges, including because he was under the influence, as you heard from Caroline Levitt. So I would think aggravated manslaughter charges. But anyway, released in the country in 2022, entered illegally, released into the country by Joe Biden. That's not happening anymore. The Board of Immigration Appeals quietly ruled last month judges can no longer grant bond to undocumented immigrants who enter the country illegally. So this guarantees detention until deportation or some adjudication of an asylum claim. They're not being paroled into the country the way they were under Biden and disappearing for years on end, as we have seen in so many instances. Big development and another tightening up of our immigration system and border security by the Trump administration. Brian in Evansville, Indiana.
Yeah, good morning. I just want to quickly say, y'all worried about people on trucks and stuff, which I do agree. A 80,000-pound truck is dangerous, but I'm going to give you another scary thought going on. You got people working in your kitchens, cooking your food and have no physicals. You don't know where they're from. That could be a more silent killer than being on a truck. They don't take physicals or nothing. But thanks for hearing me.
All right, thanks, Brian. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's like a hot steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
This month, Pure Talk is supporting Canines for Warriors, a terrific organization that trains rescue dogs and then pairs them up with combat vets struggling with PTSD. This is why I switched to Pure Talk. Sure, I like the unlimited talk, text, and plenty of 5G data for just $25 a month, and you will too. But you will love being in business with a company that shares your values. Dial pound 250, say Micro, and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and LifeLock is here with tips to help protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication on your accounts, report phishing, and update your software on all your devices. And for comprehensive identity protection, LifeLock is your best choice. LifeLock not only alerts you to suspicious uses of your personal information, but also fixes identity theft, guaranteed, or your money back. So stay smart, stay safe, and stay protected with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use the promo code BECK. Terms to apply.
Hey, I'm Steve Wyatt, and I want to invite you to the Wyatt Matters Show, which airs every Sunday on this station. You can expect lively discussion and heartfelt reflection that will both entertain and inspire you. And if we do it right, maybe deliver some genuine laughter as well. We talk about not only what matters, but also why it matters.
Wyatt Matters, Sunday morning at 6 on AM 560. The Answer.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Pluto TV.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. AM 560. The Answer.
Text from 847. Can a state refuse to honor a CDL issued in California? I'm in Indiana. It's not just an academic question. That's a good question. I'll tell you what a state can do. What Oklahoma did is partner with ICE to do an Operation Guardian initiative, which I'll explain on the other side because it's now 6 o'clock on AM 560 WIND.
A TV commercial has made President Trump mad. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, and he's angry at Canada for the commercial featuring President Reagan from 1987, warning about the dangers of tariffs.
And the triggering of fierce trade wars. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse.
That prompted a Trump Truth Social post late last night calling the ad fake and egregious, and the president announced he's terminating all trade negotiations with Canada.
The ad was actually placed by the province of Ontario. The Reagan Foundation, though, took issue with it, saying the ad misrepresents the presidential radio address and the government of Ontario did not seek nor receive permission to use and edit the remarks.
Fox's Doug Luzader. President Trump will focus on trade and national security on a trip to Asia. He'll leave late tonight, going to several countries. The trip includes a meeting with China's leader, pressing Xi Jinping on the flow of the illegal drug fentanyl from China, as the president keeps battling drug trafficking, saying he might expand U.S. military strikes that have destroyed 9 suspected drug boats off the South American coast, and he may go after targets on land next.
And we may go to the Senate, we may go to the Congress and tell them about it. But I can't imagine they'd have any problem with it.
Democrats have questioned the legality of the military action at sea. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is in Israel for a second day of talks as the Gaza ceasefire remains in place.
There's going to be ups and downs and twists and turns. But I think we have a lot of reason for
healthy optimism.
Rubio also just said they're working to get Hamas to turn over the final 13 dead hostages. New York Attorney General Letitia James goes to court today facing charges she claims are Trump political revenge.
Charges against New York Attorney General Letitia James stem from a house she bought for $137,000 in Norfolk, Virginia in 2020. She's accused of falsely claiming that it was her second home, which allowed her favorable loan terms, then renting it out.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers. James, a Democrat, won a fraud lawsuit against the president and the Trump Organization last year. America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It is 37 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. The Illinois governor is setting up a commission that he says will document harassment and abuse by federal agents who are deployed here in Chicago. Fox's Jared Halpern has more from the White House.
Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker is establishing the Illinois Accountability Commission to document and archive the conduct of federal immigration agents in his state.
It is imperative that none of the impropriety, brutality, and harassment perpetrated upon our people goes unnoticed.
Pritzker has been a fierce critic of Operation Midway Blitz, the Trump administration's surge of federal assets aimed at arresting migrants with criminal records. Federal courts have blocked President Trump's deployment of the National Guard to Chicago, a challenge now being appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
The Chicago Transit Authority is warning riders that elevated rail lines will not run in the loop this weekend. Officials with the transit agency say crews will be working to replace track switching equipment at the Tower 18 junction, requiring the suspension of the brown, green, orange, and pink lines between Clark and Lake and Washington and Wells starting at 4 a.m. tomorrow morning and lasting until 2 a.m. on Monday. Trains will run normally outside of the loop. The affected stations will also be closed during those times. Service along the red and blue lines will be unaffected as they run underground. CTA is offering free shuttle bus services for riders in those areas, and you can find more information at transitchicago.com. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560. The Answer.
Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, happening on Saturday, November 8th at Westin Chicago Northwest in Itasca. This year, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, along with Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, and many more. This event will sell out fast, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Nauman and Associates, Scott Tucker Solutions Incorporated, and by Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago.
This holiday season, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation is delivering on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices of America's greatest heroes during their annual Season of Hope. Between Thanksgiving and Christmas, the foundation is delivering mortgage-free homes to dozens of America's most catastrophically injured heroes and Gold Star and fallen first responder families. Help and honor America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com, because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, ETHOS, ethos.com/Mike.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. You're in great shape in both directions on the Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose is just 14 minutes. The Kennedy inbound from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange is 17 minutes. You do have some outbound delays as you head towards the Tri-State, so it's 30 minutes from the Burn Interchange to O'Hare. Now the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 13 minutes. Outbound is 14. Inbound Stevenson does slow down as you approach the Dan Ryan, so it's going to be 19 minutes from Tri-State to Lakeshore. Outbound is 15. And the Dan Ryan from 95th Street to the Burn Interchange is 14. Outbound is 10. Traffic is a service of David Hochberg. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be sunny with a high of 54. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a low of 38. Tomorrow, we'll see sun peeking through high clouds, reaching a high of 56. Sunday will be partly sunny with a high of 59. Monday brings cloudy skies and breezy conditions in the afternoon with a high of 57. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. I wanted to just answer a question that was raised by a texter because it is an important one. And it prompts some thinking no matter where you live. A text 24/7 at the end of last hour. Can a state refuse to honor a CDL license issued in California? I'm in Indiana, so it's not just an academic question. And of course, the issue is Article 4, Section 1 of the Constitution, full faith and credit, where states recognize the lawful public acts of other states. So if you have a CDL license in California, it's recognized in Illinois and vice versa. But here's what Oklahoma did after the crash in Florida on that turnpike and the discussion that ensued about states that don't ask status when it comes to issuing CDL licenses. The Oklahoma governor, a little concerned about that. So if you have a governor like Kevin Stitt in Oklahoma, you can actually get some things done to improve public safety, no matter what some of the meth labs of democracy like California and Illinois are doing. It was called Operation Guardian, a 3-day operation that was conducted at the port of entry along eastbound Interstate 40 in Beckham County, Oklahoma. This was done in conjunction with ICE, state troopers. They made contact with about 520 people. 25% of those people were not in the country legally, and 90% of those found to be in the country illegally were operating commercial motor vehicles. 90% of the 25% of 520 people to be found here illegally had CDLs. Everybody was taken into custody without any resistance, said law enforcement. Moving forward, we'll continue these type of operations because our desire is to make sure that every Oklahoman is safe on the roads. That's a worthwhile effort. Many of the CDLs, and this is not limited to California, had a CDL that had a photo with the name, no name given, and we talked about that before. So there's a problem here. And if I was a Hoosier, because you have a governor like Kevin Stitt, sensible in Mike Braun, I would call on Mike Braun to do an audit of commercial truck drivers in Indiana who got their CDL license in California or Illinois or any other sanctuary state, in addition to doing one on Indiana-issued CDL licenses, too, just to be on the safe side, even though it's not a sanctuary state, because why not? So it's a great point that's raised in terms of this states honoring the laws and licensures of other states, and that is the case with CDL licenses at present. And so, there should be pressure put on governors to, number one, clean up the mess and address the dangers that have been inflicted by the governors like Newsom and Pritzker and Hochul and Murphy and Healy in Massachusetts, and on down the line. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer the line. Something else that came up yesterday as Triple Threat was followed by JB in announcing these programs targeting federal law enforcement officers in Chicago and Illinois, respectively. We brought you Triple Threat yesterday. JB followed suit with an executive order. Here's Lightfoot's announcement on Fox Chicago of her accountability project to gather information on ICE and ICE officers' conduct or alleged conduct and turn it over to state and local prosecutors for potential state and local prosecutions of ICE agents. Oh, and also to identify these ICE agents who are not readily identifiable.
We're calling it the ICE Accountability Project, and it really has three components to it. One is we want to create a centralized archive of all the purported evidence of criminal actions on the part of ICE and CBP agents across the region. It's out there, but it's in different places, and it makes it difficult to aggregate the information. We want to create a portal where what's happening real time can be centralized and then put out for the public to view. Number two, and importantly, we want to unmask the ICE agents, the CBP agents who are committing crimes in our city. So the normal immigration activity, not that, but we see a homicide, we see attempted homicide, we see excessive force being routinely used.
And I should quote, you're saying homicide. Now, they have said that was self-defense, that was...
Well, I think, for example, the gentleman
This is Silverio Villegas-Gonzalez.
Yes,
Franklin
who was
Park.
killed in the traffic stop. ICE put out one narrative, but all the other documentary evidence, the videotape evidence, tells a very different story. It's not for us to make a determination as to whether a crime has in fact been committed, but we want to gather the evidence so that, frankly, local law enforcement, like a Franklin Park, that is small, has a very small police force, depends upon the county and the state to help support them in these kind of serious allegations of crime, that everything is together in one repository, and we start the process of unmasking the agents. Even though they're wearing masks, every single one of them has a towel.
You say unmasking, they're going to say you're going to dox them, and that's why threats against them are up.
They are on public property, out in the open. We have an absolute right under our Constitution to be able to document what's happening. Every single one of those agents, height, weight, hair.
Yeah, you can, FOIA that information. You can obtain public information about taxpayer-funded agencies, including law enforcement, sure. But there are lines that Lightfoot is blurring. There are rhetorical lines she clearly blurred, where she's making accusations while then saying, well, we're just gathering evidence, and that's for somebody else to determine. You've already made the conclusion. You just announced a conclusion. They're guilty of murder and attempted murder. That's what you said. Triple threat. Gosh, I miss her so. And then JB followed suit. Here's the setup on Jelly Belly's big EO yesterday from Paris Schutz at Fox Chicago.
The governor signed an executive order this morning establishing what he calls, as you said, the Accountability Commission, which he says will provide a database of some of the unlawful or aggressive actions from federal immigration agents. The new commission will be staffed by Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, Jim Bennett, Director of the Illinois Department of Human Rights, and Mary Meg McCarthy of the National Immigrant Justice Center.
Pritzker says the idea is to keep an accessible database of federal actions, so those affected can potentially have documentation for future legal action.
Another database on ICE. We got one at the city level, we got one at the state level, accountability projects. Everybody wants to pile on because they must believe that this continued denigration and demonization of federal law enforcement scores big politically for them with their base. Gives Lightfoot something to do to be relevant, maybe find a way back to politics. Let's all hope so. And, of course, Governor Jay Bally's to prosecute his presidential ambitions. This is what you do. And, the consequences be damned. Those Illinois Accountability Project members, Mary Meg McCarthy, this open borders harridan. Here's what she said.
With today's executive order, Governor Pritzker is once again standing for the very principles that make this a great country. The executive order will protect the rule of law. I believe that the commission will become an invaluable resource in America's quest for justice and durable human rights protections.
Oh, I love the flowery rhetoric and all the bromides contained therein. Oh, sure, this is about the rule of law. Say open borders, sanctuary state, political hacks, and their flacks. Right, please lecture me some more on the rule of law and human rights. And I'll tell you what, don't lecture me. Just go to the families, all the angel moms and dads, and families who didn't, fortunately, have a family member killed, but did have a family member injured or frauded, hurt in some material way. Go to them and lecture them about the stories you want to tell and about the human rights that you want to protect. Pritzker on his executive order?
If they do not follow the law, they will be held accountable, and there will be archives and records of what happened here.
More of his big talk in the direction of Bovino and ICE. As I said, if I was Bovino, I would use Pritzker's words right back at him. Come and get me, big boy. Come and get me. Another threat of Pritzker to pursue criminal charges against ICE agents. Well, Pam Bondi, she's the Attorney General of the United States, don't you know? She has a message for Triple Threat and Jelly Belly and everybody else who wants to target ICE agents and thinks they're going to Bigfoot the federal government and prosecute federal law enforcement.
She will be getting a letter from us tomorrow to preserve anything that she's done as well to make sure that she's not violating the law. It appears she is. You cannot disclose the identity of a federal agent, where they live, anything that could harm them. Pritzker, same ballgame with him. And, Pelosi got a letter today from Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. So did Brooke Jenkins, that DA in San Francisco. We told them, preserve your emails, preserve everything you have on this topic, because if you are telling people to arrest our ICE officers, our federal agents, you cannot do that. You're impeding an investigation, and we will charge them if they think they have not met me.
Situation is getting a little interesting, isn't it? It's about to get interesting. Big talk, though, I suspect, from Jelly Belly. He's a big cake eater. I mean, literally and figuratively. I mean, that guy's a pansy. So he has to make up for it with his big talk. It's like, it's like a guy with a small penis driving a Ferrari. Pritzker's overcompensating for the fact that he's a dandy. So it's just big talk. He'll walk up to the line and not cross it. I suspect Lightfoot probably does the same. But on notice. Oh, and speaking of big dandies, Ali G, Secretary of State. He's a Secretary of State. Did you know that? He wants to get in on this action, too. Can't let Triple Threat and Jelly Belly and Juliana Stratton have all the fun. Everybody has to take their bite at the apple if they want to receive applause from all those 60s refugees at the No Kings rallies over the weekend in Chicago and Forest Park, wherever else. And Ali G has big ambitions too. Is he? Are you expecting he's going to say something about people here illegally with CDL licenses because he doesn't want to see a repeat of what happened to the Willis family? No, that's not what he's coming to say.
You may have seen this video recently on social media. It shows an ICE agent confronting someone filming a vehicle and saying,
you can record all you want. I change plates out every day.
Well, I have a big problem with that. You see, swapping out Illinois license plates on Illinois registered vehicles is illegal. And as Secretary of State, I have zero tolerance for this type of illegal activity. We are investigating these allegations as we speak, and I'm asking for your help. Today, we're announcing a special Plate Watch hotline for people to report this type of illegal activity. You can call 312-814-1730.
What's that number again?
Plate Watch at
what's the website? Another big talker. Dandy. These Dem dandies. I mean, the women are much scarier than these male impersonators like Ali G and Jelly Belly. Don't you think? Terry in Carpentersville, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Don't public officials take an oath of office to protect its citizens and also these companies? Aren't they legally responsible for hiring people who, don't conform to the laws that we have?
That's how it's supposed to work. Yeah, Terry. That's how it's supposed to work. Mm-hmm. Thanks for the call. And then we get down to the brass tacks of who enforces how it's supposed to work. Right? Who watches the watchmen? Who prosecutes the prosecutors? Kevin in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, these guys are trying so hard to be the hero. And, in any drama triangle, they're trying to portray the illegal aliens as the victims, but the real victims are the citizens and the people who are killed by these people who have CDL licenses and things like that. I'm curious, should you call your insurance company and say, are you insuring these illegal aliens? Because what are these insurance companies doing? Representing these guys or covering those guys. Anyhow, the real victims are citizens. The real victims are children who have kids with special needs, because it's a zero-sum game as far as who could be covered for Medicaid and things like that. For every illegal alien who is Medicaid, there's probably a child or a family that's losing out on Medicaid.
Yeah,
so those are the people who are real victims.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Kevin. The insurance companies, that's an interesting point. I mean, you have some independent drivers, so their insurance would be, it wouldn't come through the company they work for necessarily, although they probably have a, S corp set up. But regardless, the idea of putting a spotlight on the insurance companies too, that'll make them nervous. Not a bad idea. I like that. Dave in Bristol, Wisconsin.
Hey, Dan, good morning. Thanks for taking the call.
Yeah.
As far as the CDL, I am a trucker. It is a humongous problem. I was in California recently. Weigh stations are not open, as they are not open in Illinois. I called the weigh station, spoke to an officer. They are ordered not to enforce English proficiency. They are not checking immigration. They are not checking licenses, so majorly complicit. A gold mine of illegal aliens is every truck stop in America. As far as like the plate watch and how it ties into the other thing you said, I'm literally watching foreigners change the names of their company and DOT numbers at the truck stop in the fuel island to avoid, if they do something wrong, they just switch to another company. There's been at least 20 deaths, in the United States from illegals from the Florida case, recently one in California. the trucking industry is where they are hiding. It's like an open door from illegals to just come to America, somehow get a CDL, and you fly under the radar, which is why I'm sure everybody in Illinois and across America has seen the increase in trucking and the increase in reckless, unsafe driving in the trucking industry.
Dave, let me ask you a question. I mentioned this when we were talking last hour about the case out of California. In both the high-profile California and Florida turnpike cases, you had an illegal immigrant who was a Sikh Indian. And there's a lot, and it seems to me from the reporting I've read, there are a lot of Indian or Indian American owned trucking companies. And I just wonder if that's like a particular, if there's a particular inflection point there that a lot of people who are in this country illegally from India specifically are in the trucking industry.
Absolutely. I'll break it down real quick. When you see the Sikh or on the side of the truck, you'll see the Muslim or Sikh with the two swords crossed, various symbols they put on their truck. Those are all California-based companies. That's where the majority of the population is. I'm regularly all over California. They do not speak any English. I try to make conversation at the fuel island, in the truck stop, just to try to gauge who these people are. Nobody speaks English, and as well as the Ukrainians, there's, a large Hispanic portion in southern, but along, Interstate 8, Interstate 10, 40, basically all over. You can tell by the side of the truck, the things they put on. There's never an American flag. The concentration of Sikh, though, is coming out of California. And, they're all over. And, again, like most things, they don't care about America. They don't want to learn English. They do not want to assimilate. They are here for all the benefits, all the money. And if they kill somebody, they just shut down the number, the DOT, MC number, change the logo on the truck, and move over, which, again, is where the insurance companies need to start being a lot more astringent and weeding this definite public threat out.
Thanks for the call, Dave. Appreciate it. Appreciate the insights there. Michael, Southside.
Good morning, Dan. Thank you for taking my call. I find it really interesting that the American left did not want a gang database, but now it wants a database of ICE agents.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Very good. That's a great juxtaposition, Michael. I wish I would have thought of it. Well done. I'm stealing that. Greg in Jefferson Park.
Hey, good morning, Dan. I'll tell you something. What Dave had to say was very, very educational and scary at the same time. But, I was just wondering, if I sign up for this thing to videotape ICE agents or what have you and send it to the state of Illinois, can I get a pension out of this somehow, some way? Okay? That's what I need to know. Can I get a pension?
Great question.
Juicy pension.
Yeah, great question. Thanks for the call. I shouldn't laugh. At the state level, you probably can. If Lightfoot was actually in office, it probably would attach. You could probably vest for after 6 months because it's you're saving our democracy or something. Roy and Glen Ellen.
Yeah, that was pretty funny there on the pension. But our lieutenant governor had to get into the act. She took to the podium and talked about her Shero, SHERO, to be well. I mean, all this, and she's got to go woke in the middle of it.
Shero, huh? Yeah, thanks for the call. Jordan in Antioch.
Good morning. Yeah, piggybacking off of what they said about the database, isn't it? It's funny, right? You wouldn't have to be getting documents and holding ICE agents accountable and finding out who they were and doing all this had you held the people coming here illegally accountable and had all that. If you'd have done that in the first place, you wouldn't have to worry about doxing these guys. And the other thing is, did anybody ever really know who the hell Juliana Stratton was? I've lived in this state since I was 3. I didn't know who Juliana Stratton was. Every time you guys mentioned the name Stratton, I thought it was that chick they made that movie Star 80 about. I never even knew.
Often confused. Thanks for the call, Jordan. Yeah. Well, the lieutenant governor is not a high profile or particularly, important job. It's sort of a shopping mall center opening ribbon cutter, right? Juliana Stratton's trying to grow up into being a real shero, though. She is running for Senate, in case you were interested, which it doesn't sound like you are. Tom in Oswego.
Hey, good morning, Dan. First of all, thanks for, allowing us this forum to talk about the buffoonery of these politicians. I've lived here my whole life. I run a business 35 years. I wake up every morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I have to bust my tail and solve problems all day to make money to pay the taxes. And I'd like to know for once, what are these politicians doing? Every morning I wake up and all I hear is things they're resisting and new stuff they're doing to destroy this state. What are they building? What are they solving? What do they get paid for? This is just getting outrageous. And Dan, I've got a 3-year exit plan out of here. So all the money that I make, I'm taking out of this state and I'm bringing it right to Tennessee.
Thanks for the call, Tom. Appreciate it. Coming up at 6:36, we'll turn our attention to that big announcement by the G yesterday. Cash and the DOJ in concert with one another, as is the want of the FBI and the Department of Justice. That massive gambling ring that they unfurled yesterday. We'll discuss that and Stephen Smith's bloviations in the direction of Trump. He's coming for professional leagues and professional sports, says Stephen A. Smith, doing his best Paul Revere. That's at 6:36. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 37 degrees in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. A former Chicago gang leader who was pardoned by President Trump is now asking Governor J.B. Pritzker for clemency. Fox's Jeff Manasso has the details.
He once led Chicago's gangster disciples and won a pardon from President Trump this spring on his federal life sentence for running a criminal enterprise in prison. Though Larry Hoover was also previously sentenced to 200 years in state prison in 1973 in a murder conviction. He's now asking Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker for a commutation. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
And a ruling is expected today in the case of a Portage Park man who was detained by ICE agents on Saturday. Lawyers for Ruben Torres Maldonado are asking for him to be released until his deportation hearing so that he can be with his family as his 16-year-old daughter is battling stage 4 cancer. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again. Not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, happening on Saturday, November 8th at Westin Chicago Northwest in Itasca. This year, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, along with Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, and many more. This event will sell out fast, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Aid for Women, Breakthrough Ideas, and by attorney Stephen A. Leahy at Opum Tax Advocates.
When the power goes out, life stops. Heat, AC, fridge, phones, all gone. But with a Generac home standby generator from True Power Generator Service, your home powers back on automatically, so you're never left in the dark. Book your consultation today at TruePowerGenerator.com. That's TruePowerGenerator.com. Plus, 560 listeners get a free 10-year extended warranty. Terms and conditions apply. Call for details. True Power Generator Service and Generac. It's not just a generator, it's a power move.
Temperatures are cooling, but not concerns about inflation, market volatility, and taxes. Revisit your financial plan this fall. BestGen Wealth Partners work with individuals to develop personalized plans that help navigate changing conditions with confidence. Visit GetRetiredStayRetired.com to learn more.
Advisory services offered through BestGen Advisors, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Private Client Services, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC. Private Client Services and BestGen Advisors, LLC are unaffiliated entities. Any information discussed does not constitute investment advice. BestGen Advisors and Private Client Services do not offer tax legal advice.
Honey, why does it take you so long to get ready?
Because I've got one tiny sink. I'm trying to balance makeup on the back of the toilet, and the mirror's always fogged up.
Sounds like a circus act.
Exactly. And I perform every morning.
At Forever Remodeling, we create bathrooms that fit your life, not the other way around. From extra storage to spa-like showers and timeless finishes, we make your mornings easier. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4everremodeling.com.
Get 2 mattresses for the price of 1.
Whoa, what are you doing?
We don't do sales at Penny Mustard.
I know, Nicole.
So how can we offer 2 mattresses for the price of 1?
Because it's only 1 mattress.
You're not making sense, Ben. Have you been painting in confined spaces again?
Arvid, I'm talking about Penny Mustard's 2-sided mattresses.
Oh, I see. When you have a flippable 2-sided foam or coil spring mattress,
it's like having 2 mattresses for the price of 1.
You'll give each side more time to breathe.
And your mattress will last twice as long.
You use both sides of your pillow, and you should be able to use both sides of your mattress, too.
I don't use a pillow.
What do you use?
A cement block.
Really?
I find it relaxing after a long day of painting in confined spaces.
2-sided mattresses, because 2 is better than 1. Available every day at Penny Mustard Furnishings.
7 Chicagoland showrooms.
PennyMustard.com.
Better versions of what people want.
Penny Mustard Furnishings.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need Hair Volume from New Nordic. Available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
A look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. I'm Sue Aller. Watch out for a crash on the southbound side of Lakeshore Drive at East Oakwood Boulevard. The inbound Stevenson is starting to slow down, approaching the Dan Ryan, and the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange is 16 minutes. Outbound is 11. Inbound on the Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose, 14 minutes. Same thing on the outbound side. The Kennedy inbound from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange is 18 minutes. Outbound is 31. And inbound on the Eisenhower from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 15 minutes. Outbound is 14. This report is sponsored by King's Hawaiian Sliders. Eli Manning reminds you that there's nothing like football and King's Hawaiian Sliders. There's something about those soft, fluffy, irresistible King's Hawaiian Sliders that make them a winner on game day. Pick them up this weekend in the bakery or deli section of your grocery store. King's Hawaiian, there's nothing like it. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be sunny with a high of 54. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a low of 38. Tomorrow, we'll see sun peeking through high clouds, reaching a high of 56. Sunday will be partly sunny with a high of 59. Monday brings cloudy skies and breezy conditions in the afternoon with a high of 57. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, and this gambling ring involving NBA players, including Hall of Famer Chauncey Billups. These charges that were announced yesterday by Kash Patel in the Department of Justice. It's a wild story. I mean, it's somebody called John Dahl because it could be a sequel to Rounders. Here's what Kash Patel had to say about it generally.
The charges and the arrests that were taken down across this country range from wire fraud, money laundering, extortion, robbery, illegal gambling. This FBI will leave no room for any perpetrator of crime across this country. You hear a lot about our work of defending the homeland and crushing violent crime. Well, this work is also representative of a colossal portion of the FBI's mandate to keep America safe and to keep our entertainment industry fair and secure. The men and women that are standing up here today worked tireless hours, days, months, and years. And the fraud is mind-boggling. It's not hundreds of dollars. It's not thousands of dollars. It's not tens of thousands of dollars. It's not even millions of dollars. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars in fraud and theft and robbery across a multi-year investigation.
And so this is Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, former NBAer, Terry Rozier, Miami Heat, and a bunch of crime family crime family members, like mafioso. Angelo Ruggiero Jr., son of Gambino Captain Quack Quack. These nicknames. Quack Quack? Since when is that a mob nickname? Nicholas Fat Nick Minucci, convicted of a 2005 hate crime. It was in on the cheating teams. There were the Bonanno, Gambino, Lucchese, and Genovese crime families, all involved in rigging poker games with the NBA players that I mentioned. This was a prosecutor explaining the rigged poker games they ran, the fish they identified, and how they filleted those fish.
Beginning as early as 2019, the defendants in this case orchestrated a scheme to use wireless cheating technology to run rigged poker games across the United States, including in the Hamptons, Las Vegas, Miami, and Manhattan. The scheme targeted victims known as, quote, fish, who were often lured to participate in these rigged games by the chance to play alongside former professional athletes who were known as, quote, face cards. The so-called face cards included the defendant Chauncey Billups, who at the time of the scheme was a former NBA player and is currently the head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, and also Damon Jones, a former NBA player and coach. What the victims, the fish, didn't know is that everybody else at the poker game, from the dealer to the players, including the face cards, were in on the scam. Once the game was underway, the defendants fleeced the victims out of tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars per game. The defendants used a variety of very sophisticated cheating technologies, some of which were provided by other defendants in exchange for a share of the profits from the scheme. For example, they used off-the-shelf shuffling machines that had been secretly altered in order to read the cards in the deck, predict which player at the table had the best poker hand, and relay that information to an off-site operator. The off-site operator sent the information via cell phone back to a co-conspirator at the table, and that person at the table was known as the quarterback. The quarterback then signaled secretly the information he had received from others to others at the table, and together they used that information in order to win their games and to cheat the victims. Defendants used other cheating technologies such as poker chip tray analyzers, which is a poker chip tray that secretly reads cards using a hidden camera, special contact lenses or eyeglasses that could read pre-marked cards, and an X-ray table that could read cards face down.
That's pretty sophisticated, but, anything involving the son of Quack Quack, is going to be sophisticated. Text from 630, Dave from Geneva. Quack Quack is the second cousin on third removed of Duck Duck Goose. I need to see the crime family org chart, but that sounds right to me. So it's Quack Quack, and it's Fat Nick Minucci, and it's Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier, and a couple of dozen others. Babylon Bee also contributing to the layering of this story, reporting that WNBA players assured the FBI they were not missing layups to throw games. They just suck at basketball. So the WNBA has been exonerated in this case. Hi-yo. So this is, a story of the ubiquity of gambling, and every play is associated with a monetary event, because part of what was going on here wasn't point shaving so much as it was stat shaving. I mean, on the other side of it, not the poker, but there was the other piece of it too, where you had a former Raptor that was banned for life on the prop bets. So guys that were saying, like, I'll tell you who's injured, a little insider trading. It's okay when Pelosi does it, allegedly. It's not okay when NBA players do it. But, you know, I'll tell you who's under the weather, who's not going to play the second half and so forth, so you can make prop bets accordingly on the stats that they generate for that game. Also, you're betting on me. You know, I'll wind down the intensity of my performance as I get closer to the over-under on points I score tonight, for example, so that I'm under. So bet the under and then show up to my house with cash and we'll split the proceeds. I mean, with the money that these guys make now, it's unbelievable, unbelievably stupid that they would be involved. But it's sort of like, I assume it's a little bit like Tom Sizemore in Heat. The action is the juice for some of these guys. I don't know. I mean, the crime families, that's a different story. I'm just talking about why NBA players would be involved in this, but they apparently were. But generally, more information on Quack Quack. You know, I want the full profile. Jay in Lowell, Indiana.
Yes, Quack Quack was a close associate of John Gotti, I believe. Like, they were friends since childhood. He was like Gotti's right next to him all the time.
Well, that would make sense. He is supposedly Gambino. So now, was he also friends with Sammy the Bull, or no? Were they not friends?
So, they were all like their tight little knit group. Quack was part of that tight little knit group with John Gotti. Yes.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Jay. Got a lot of mob aficionados here, of course. But I mean, normally this was just okay. So this is a story that we have a discussion about, as I said, the pervasiveness of gambling. And I mean, you know, the hand wringing on it's a little disingenuous when states have taken over the rackets from the mob. Illinois being a prime example. You can't swing a dead cat in this state without hitting a video poker machine. It's grotesque, and of course, it's predatory. Your government preying on people that are least able to afford it. It is so destructive. It is not a growth play, which is why it's hilarious that some video poker impresario like Rick Heidner thinks he's going to run for the Republican nomination for governor in the state. But it also speaks to the nature of the quality of the political parties in Illinois, too, corrupted on both sides by interests, including but not limited to gaming and drugs. But I digress. The political piece of this, which is why I'm taking it up, we'll talk to former FBI agent Tom Baker a little bit later in the show about the federal law enforcement aspect of this. But the political aspect of this is Stephen A. Smith's, you know, sort of going full Candace Owens and insinuating some murky conspiracy that is afoot where Trump is coming for people. Trump is coming. Winter is coming. I mean, it's very Game of Thrones-ish. And Stephen A. Smith is a big blowhard, but since, you know, he's began opining on politics and some people have conferred legitimacy to him, and all these people who can tolerate watching ESPN actually consume his bloviations, I figured I'd fold him in, since he said some good things about Trump, too, trying to play both middles, and he's talking about running for president. Okay, whatever. But, you know, people love celebrity, unfortunately, including way too many on the right. And so they pay attention to people that don't necessarily know anything but have platforms where they pretend to, like Stephen A. Smith. Here he was on ESPN yesterday after the indictments were announced.
How many times, for one incident after another, have I said, Trump is coming? He's coming. I'm going to say it on national television again. Bad Bunny is performing at the Super Bowl, and all of a sudden you hearing ICE is going to be there, looking to engage in mass deportations. The Super Bowl, disrupting things. Big night for the NBA. Wembanyama put on a show. That has now been smeared because we're talking about this story, okay? Remember, Trump has a long, long history connected to the world of sports because he had those casinos. Where do you think folks were coming half the time? I'm not talking about individuals. I'm talking about the culture. When people want to go to a casino, when people want to gamble, when people want to party, or whatever the case may be. This was his kind of connection to that. Why am I glad you're here, Monica? Because Don't be surprised if the WNBA is next on his list. Because when you've got all of these protests that have been going out there and people that have been protesting against him and what have you, this man is coming. He's coming. And I've been saying it for a long time. And to me, this is the latest nugget of evidence that we're talking about right here. That's not to question the legitimacy of the case. We don't know. We're all sitting up here and we're saying that we don't know. But anybody that has been around him, anybody that has talked to him, anybody that has seen his reactions from the sports leagues and the positions that people have taken, they are not surprised at what's going on today. I'm watching a press conference with the director of the FBI. Tell me when we've seen that. We've seen accusations before. We've seen athletes get in trouble with the law before. You don't see the director of the FBI having a press conference. It's not coincidental. It's not an accident. It's a statement. And it's a warning that more is coming.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Okay, well, Stephen A. Smith, just a couple of points of order. One, this investigation began under Biden and Biden's Department of Justice. Number two, you see the director of the FBI and the FBI and the Department of Justice do a press conference anytime. And every time, if I can do my Stephen A. Smith impersonation, and every time, the big four crime families in New York City are involved, don't you? Or were you just born last night? If this was athletes shaving points, I doubt it. I doubt you'd see the statement. It's because it's the mafia family's involvement. You idiot. Al in Rosemont, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, Dan. The NBA is rank with this issue. Angelo Ruggiero Jr. is the son of Angelo Ruggiero, the best friend of John Gotti. This is a Gambino issue, and Stephen A. Jackson taking this position is just somebody running flank for the NBA. I think that Adam Silver needs to be fired because he's been in bed with these FanDuel and all this stuff that's made this game so nasty to watch and to look. That's just how I feel.
Thanks for the call, Al. Well, I don't know if Adam Smith is here or if he's returned to his home planet for the time being, but if and when he does come back, then yeah, he has some questions to answer. Oh, it ruined. That's it. The other thing is Stephen A. just said, Wembyana had this great night last night, and he's a great basketball player. I appreciate it, but the NBA is terrible basketball, generally speaking, even with the greats in the league. The idea. So what? So Cash and the DOJ conspire to announce this to distract attention away from Wembyana's game? What the hell are you talking about, you buffoon? Just keep dancing for your 7-figure check from those woke a-holes at ESPN, Stephen A. I mean, you can say whatever you want in podcasts. I saw Pritzker was on his podcast, too. He's trying to, he's just a carnival barker, Stephen A. Smith. He doesn't know anything. He barely knows anything about sports, if you've ever actually listened to him. And he went off on this podcast even more, and he took it to the next step, saying that what Trump is doing here is beneath the dignity of the office of the White House. Beneath the dignity of the office of president, I should say. Beneath the dignity of the Oval Office. What? Prosecuting crime families involved in illicit gambling rings? Frauding people? That's beneath the dignity of federal law enforcement. That's the purpose of federal law enforcement, in part, as Kash Patel mentioned at the press conference. I mean, good grief. Mac in the 219.
Well, Steven's just a dumb D-bag, number one, but
yes.
I'm not sure he's aware, but the FBI has already investigated the WNBA for all the missed free throws and layups. It turns out they've been exonerated. They just suck at basketball.
Yeah, I read that Babylon Bee headline before you called. Thanks for the call, Mac. Lewis, Southside.
Good morning, Dan. Trump's coming, and he's bringing hell with him.
Okay,
There's
he's
a new
high-plains
sheriff
drifter.
in town.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. Thanks for the call. I get it. But this isn't Trump coming. And the idea that this represents the implication is clear, some sort of illegitimate attack on professional sports leagues or professional athletes because some have been critical of him. I mean, there's not an iota of evidence to support that claim. Well, I know. I've been talking to people. He's coming. I told the WNBA, watch out. Watch out for what? You can't even muster any interest in the WNBA, much less the time devoted to tackle anything that may be going on there. I can't imagine there is anything of note. I mean, just the stupidity of these dialogues. I told you the sports press corps is an extension of the D.C. political press corps. Stephen A. Smith just provided another illustration. Perry and Niles.
Hi. I can name the date and approximately the time. It was July 3rd, 2016, about 8:30 in the morning. Jim Comey was on the radio. It was on WLS back then for about an hour, giving the reasons why he wasn't going to charge Hillary with a crime, thereby really, quote unquote, exonerating her and helping pave the way for her campaign to maybe win the White House.
Why no? How's that relevant?
It's not relevant. It's not at all.
Okay. Thanks for the call. Yeah, I remember that press conference too. Okay. Connect dots for me, please, if they're not obvious. Is this really true? I got a text from 312. Stephen A. Smith plays an associate of a big mobster on General Hospital. Does he have a bit role on General Hospital, too? I mean, he's perfect for soap opera because he's such a drama queen and, bad actor, very, hammy. But does he really? I don't watch the afternoon stories like I used to, so somebody will have to confirm that for me. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Welcome back to Ask Hassellus.
What makes Hassellus mattress different?
Aside from employee-free showrooms, free next-day delivery, and prices that are way too low?
Yeah, besides that.
Hassellus Mattress is locally owned and managed by the same family. So, your money stays right here. And through Monday, you'll get a $248 credit towards a new Beautyrest, Sealy Posturepedic, and Serta Perfect Sleeper just for shopping local.
Thanks.
For what?
For being different.
Find a no-hassle, employee-free showroom near you at Hassellus.com.
Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
When the power goes out, life stops. Heat, AC, fridge, phones, all gone. But with a Generac home standby generator from True Power Generator Service, your home powers back on automatically, so you're never left in the dark. Book your consultation today at TruePowerGenerator.com. That's TRUPowerGenerator.com. Plus, 560 listeners get a free 10-year extended warranty. Terms and conditions apply. Call for details. True Power Generator Service and Generac. It's not just a generator, it's a power move.
News, opinion, insight. This is AM 560, The Answer. WIND, Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app, or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer Chicago.
He's mad over an ad. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, and President Trump is so upset at Canada, he's just posted again on Truth Social, hours after a late night post that terminated all trade talks. He just wrote, Canada cheated and got caught with this commercial featuring President Reagan from 1987 warning about tariffs.
High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries.
and the triggering of fierce trade wars.
The Reagan Foundation says Ontario's government, which made the ad, did not give permission to edit the 1987 presidential radio address, misrepresenting it. And Fox's Peter Ducey reports
that ad is the reason the president called off the trade talks, because he thinks it could taint upcoming Supreme Court rulings on tariffs here. He posted on Truth Social, they only did this to interfere with the decision of the U.S. Supreme Court and other courts. Tariffs are very important to the national security and economy of the USA.
Now, the Supreme Court will consider legal challenges to the president's authority to impose tariffs on a lot of imports around the world. And another Trump post a short time ago, he wrote, it's the most important case at the court ever. And trade is going to be a big topic for the president on a trip to Asia that'll include a sit-down with China's leader.
That meeting next week also comes amid an escalating trade war over agriculture and critical minerals and the threat of triple-digit tariffs imposed.
That's Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House, where the East Wing has been demolished for the president's massive ballroom addition that Trump critics keep questioning. The president leaves tonight for the trip. New York Attorney General Letitia James will go to court this morning to face fraud charges in a case she calls Trump political revenge. And Fox's Chanley Painter reports the Democrats' lawyers are
planning to ask the judge to dismiss the indictment against her today when she does appear in that courtroom. James was indicted earlier this month on 2 felony charges of bank fraud and making false statements to a financial institution in connection with a 2020 home purchase in Virginia.
James vowed to target President Trump when she became AG and won a fraud lawsuit against him in the Trump Organization last year. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 37 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Starting off the weekend with beautiful weather here in Chicago. Sunny skies today, highs topping out around 52 degrees. As federal agents ramp up an immigration crackdown here in the Chicago area, an increasing number of elected officials are getting caught in the crosshairs. Members of Chicago's City Council and their staff members, state legislators, and congressional candidates have all been threatened, handcuffed, and even detained in recent days. The Trump administration has said that anyone who interferes or threatens federal officers will face consequences. But the elected leaders here in Illinois say that it's an alarming escalation of tactics in United States cities that's meant to spark fear and intimidation. The Chicago Transit Authority is warning riders that elevated rail lines will not be running in the loop this weekend. Officials with the transit agency say crews are going to be working to replace track switching equipment at the Tower 18 junction, and that requires the suspension of the brown, green, orange, and pink lines between Clark and Lake and Washington and Wells. That's going to start at 4 a.m. tomorrow morning and it'll last until 2 a.m. on Monday. Trains will run normally outside of the loop. The affected stations will also be closed during these times. Service along the red and blue lines will be unaffected as they run underground. CTA is offering free shuttle bus services for riders in those areas, and you can find detailed information at the CTA website, transitchicago.com. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Your home is a valuable asset, and you want to take care of your home. From roofs, siding, windows, and doors to furnaces, flooring, landscaping, and much more. Listen to your go-to for all things home. It's Home Answers Radio every Sunday morning at 9. Presented by Lang Home Medical Equipment, Valdecast Windows and Doors, and by JeffBuysYourHouse.com. Get answers from industry experts so you can make informed decisions about your home improvement. Right here on AM 560, The Answer.
This holiday season, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation is delivering on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices of America's greatest heroes during their annual Season of Hope. Between Thanksgiving and Christmas, the foundation is delivering mortgage-free homes to dozens of America's most catastrophically injured heroes and Gold Star and fallen first responder families. Help and honor America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, ETHOS, ethos.com/Mike.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Inbound on the Eden from O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange is 24 minutes. Outbound is 26 with a stalled truck at Ontario Street. It's off on the right shoulder. No delays both ways on the Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose. It's 15 minutes. And the northbound Tri-State starting to get a little bit sluggish as you approach the Eisenhower. The Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office is 23 minutes. Outbound is 19. The inbound Stevenson slows down from the Tri-State to Lakeshore 30 minutes. Outbound is 20. The Dan Ryan from 95th to the Byrne Interchange. Inbound is 19. Outbound still looks good at 11. Traffic is a service of Fox Valley Coins. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be sunny with a high of 54. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a low of 38. Tomorrow, we'll see sun peeking through high clouds, reaching a high of 56. Sunday will be partly sunny with a high of 59. Monday brings cloudy skies and breezy conditions in the afternoon with a high of 57. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Continuing our discussion on those indictments involving New York City mafia families and NBA players. Because this is being politicized by folks in the entertainment business. Like apparently I just found out Soapstar. Soapstar / ESPN commentator Stephen A. Smith, who said this on his podcast.
I talk to everybody because I want to hear the information. And when this came down the pike, that's what I was told. He's coming. It was an abuse of power in his eyes, Stephen. And he's remembering everybody. I find it disgusting. I find it heinous. I find it inexcusable and beneath the office of the presidency and our politics and everything in between. And I'm fully aware that this was being negotiated, or I'm not negotiated, but investigated over the last couple of years. I got that. But it happening now and the manner in which it's going down to the point where the FBI director is in attendance, that's pomp and circumstance, ladies and gentlemen. That's flexing. That's sending a message that this is just the tip of the iceberg. That's telling you they got more coming down the pike and that they have no intention of stopping. That is what's going on. And folks got to buckle up.
And scene. Wonderful, Stephen A. Smith. Another episode of General Hospital in the can. For more on this, please be joined by Thomas Baker, retired FBI special agent. And legal attaché, author of The Fall of the FBI, How a Once Gray Agency Became a Threat to Democracy. Thomas Baker, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good to be with you, Dan.
Before we even get to Stephen A. Smith's black helicopter insinuations, your reaction to what was announced yesterday that folds in, made members of the 4 major mafia families in New York?
Well, bottom line, I felt very proud and happy about it. It's a good thing. It's the FBI investigation. It means the FBI is back in business. Sports gambling, illegal sports gambling, was a big thing for the FBI back in the 90s and earlier even, because illegal sports gambling was a tremendous source of income for the mob, and it was a way of getting at the mob by getting at illegal sports gambling. And I say sports gambling, I'm including horse racing as well as organized team sports. And the role of informants was very well. But 2 things happened. One, which I get into quite a bit in my book, was September 11th and the shift of resources and culture within the FBI away from criminal investigations and towards what's called broadly national security investigations, counterterrorism, domestic terrorism, and related matters. And then 7 years ago, you had a Supreme Court decision that will be debated, especially now, which essentially limited federal and state, for that matter, investigations of illegal gambling or gambling in general, and essentially legalized sports gambling across the country. And now it's in 38 states and about to be 39 states. And of course, with your cell phone and with your telephone and your computer terminal, people can bet on sports from anywhere, just about any way they want to. So that's opened the door. But I'm happy to see the FBI back in the game. You have to be in this game and involved in it in organized crime investigations and illegal sports gambling, because you need to develop informants. Informants are key in all this, and I have no doubt that there were a lot of informants involved in this. But if you step back from it, you lose contact with that community.
Well, right. Part of the surprising aspect of this, one is obviously the stupidity of the NBA players. These guys are making lots of money. I don't know why they would get in bed with the mob. But the other piece of that is the mob. And I thought these crime families were pretty much out of business. The combination of federal prosecutions and, as you were just describing, the government taking over all their rackets and crowding them out. So, I mean, how much juice do these mob families still have?
Well, they've definitely been damaged. They've definitely been handicapped. A series of investigations, going over 2 and 3 decades now, have put rows and rows and repeating generations of mob leadership in prison, out of business, and the RICO Act and other things, and a lot of the activity of the prior to 7 years ago, and earlier, the specific federal legislation against illegal sports gambling, interstate transportation of wire information, etc., put a dent in all of this. But they still exist. The 5 families in New York still exist. They're still a source of, and they're still very tight with illegal gambling. Basketball, in particular, has been a perennial problem. It's so easy to fix. To point shade, there's been repetitious scandals over the and it's not just with the players. The refs in basketball have been a subject of investigation in the past.
Well, sure, yeah, right.
So that continues, and a couple of the people who were actually arrested and charged in these 2 indictments actually were players back in the 90s. And I think we can all suspect that maybe they were involved or rubbing shoulders with these same people back then.
Per Stephen A. Smith's carrying on with his everything is preposterous and egregious. Beneath the dignity of the office of the presidency or some such thing. I don't really understand how, but he points to the fact that there was a big show of force made with Kash Patel at the press conference and a phalanx of FBI and DOJ personnel. But the point was, if this was just NBA players point shaving of their own volition, probably doesn't get the same attention. It was because those mob families were involved. That's why they made the show of force.
Well, yes, you're exactly right, and it is a big deal, and it is a big case. I mean, you arrest 30 or 40 people in a half a dozen different states. There was involvement by the New York City Police Department, as usual, with the FBI in this, and it involved at least 3 mob families were identified. It is a big deal, and there's millions of dollars were involved just in these 2 cases. So I think it was worthy of the press conference and worthy of the director's participation, without a doubt. And as I say, it's a good thing. I'm glad to see the FBI's back in business and back in this particular business. This is something I personally did a lot of, many years ago. And being involved, that's my point I was trying to make with informants. Being involved in that community, the sports betting community, gives you an opportunity to develop informants, as they call them now, confidential human sources. And when you do that, you come upon other crime. Even it's inferred in just a little bit I've read about yesterday's announcement, it's inferred this leads to loan sharking, extortionate credit transactions, and all kinds of other crimes come to light when you're looking at this.
Right. I mean, a sports betting that led to rigging these poker games that leads to people getting on the wrong side and maybe not being able to pay up, and then all these other sorts of ills that you're talking about. But I wonder, ostensibly you're going to have, if this goes to trial, you're going to have some of the people that were the quote unquote fish that were the marks for these rigged games testify. I'm interested to see who some of those people were who were losing, hundreds of thousands of dollars for the privilege of sitting at a table with Chauncey Billups in these rigged poker games. I assume we're going to find out something about that. There could be some named people when you're talking about that sort of action.
Who are able to play that much money and lose that much money.
Exactly.
I get your point.
Yeah.
The other significant thing in that, a lot of people who proposed making sports betting legal and pushed for these things said it would do away with illegal gambling. Well, It hasn't. Right. It hasn't done away with the influence of the mob. It hasn't done away with illegal gambling whatsoever. We had only about a year ago another scandal that quickly went away, but it was significant, involving this wonderful star player, Ohtani from Japan, who's now with the Dodgers. His translator and personal assistant, Ohtani, there was no suggestion that Ohtani was doing anything wrong, but his personal assistant and translator got in betting with an illegal bookmaker on the phone, right, and lost up to $20 million. And that involved other people and opened up other kinds of problems. So legal sports betting has not done away with the illegal sports betting, and it hasn't done away with the role of the mob in this. So I think the leagues are going to have to be more vigilant. I'm glad to see the FBI back in the game. I hope they stay in the game. I think they may now. And I think these players and full coaches and former players, Jones and Phillips and the others, they have to be looked at, because these guys were active back in the 90s. Who knows how many people they've tainted.
Well, I mean, the point you make too, right? So the legalization and massive expansion of gambling in all its forms, sponsored by the state, hasn't eliminated the black market for gambling. Just like legalization of pot and decriminalization, some experiments with decriminalization of harder drugs hasn't led to the illicit drug market. It just doesn't work that way, as these sort of libertarian types would have you believe.
Exactly, Dan.
But I mean the Ohtani thing too. I mean it's interesting. Ohtani, I mean he wasn't implicated, But there was some swirl around him. How does your assistant, lose, be in the tens of millions of dollars in arrears to a illegal bookie, and you don't know anything about it? And where's the money coming from? And was he making bets as a pass through? I mean, I don't know if we ever sort of fully got answers to it. I think Ohtani at this point is sort of in Jordan land. He's rather untouchable when it comes to these uncomfortable questions. But I mean, it speaks to how it can winnow its way to the upper reaches of these professional leagues and really damage the credibility of the leagues. I don't think it stops anything. I don't think people stop betting, but it does, it does tarnish the reputation of these leagues and their sort of status in the public mind as legitimate and on the level.
Absolutely, and the league, the NFL, I personally know, have been very involved decades and decades in trying to keep organized crime and illegal betting away from their players, and they've been very strict on their enforcement, and they've had a very good educational program, et cetera, et cetera. I think the NBA is going to have to do more because it's been a perennial problem in basketball at the professional and the college level, and it has to be addressed.
Maybe somebody can bring John Hot Rod Williams back to make him the gambling czar for the NBA or something. All right, I want to get to another FBI question for you because yesterday the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, Chuck Grassley, released a document that proves that Attorney General Merrick Garland, Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco, and FBI Director Christopher Wray, remember him, all approved of opening the Arctic Frost investigation. The Arctic Frost investigation that now we know ultimately, among other things, resulted in Jack Smith's subpoenaing or attempting to subpoena the records of nearly a quarter of Republican legislators in the Senate, Republican senators and some Republican, at least one Republican House member too. And there's a lot of unanswered questions about that. I mean, you've got Jim Comey under indictment. You've got John Brennan, who's been referred for criminal prosecution. With respect to Arctic Frost, Wray and Jack Smith, and particularly that the attempt to obtain the phone records of Republican elected officials, this fishing expedition, as it's been termed by those elected officials, what kind of exposure do you think Wray has on that? Now that we know he approved it,
he definitely has some. Lisa Monaco is another person who's very up to her elbows in this. She's an ally of Comey, and she had a job with Mueller as chief of staff at the FBI. She's always been very partisan, very left wing, a very hateful individual, quite frankly. And her name is on the emails that have been made public when they set up when they went out and solicited and got the 50 some odd quote unquote former intelligence officials to say that there was nothing to the Hunter Biden thing and it was Russian disinformation. She's copied on all of those in soliciting those people. So she's up to her elbows in this. And what they've done, once again, Dan, I stress, this is such an abuse of authority, but actually it's not illegal. What they got in a specific thing, the phone records, they got the data. It's the old telephone toll records, essentially.
Right.
Who called who at what, or what phone, actually. Now, you can't even say a person. What phone number called what phone number at what time and for what duration. And often you can analyze that and tell a lot from that. And it's the first step or an early step in most investigations. And characterizing as a fishing expedition is accurate as well, because that's what it is. You're looking for something. There's nothing there. As far as we know, with these 6 or so senators, they had no specific information that any of them were in any way specifically helping, insisting, or encouraging what became a riot on January 6th. So it was a fishing expedition Jack Smith and Lisa Monaco and Merrick Garland and Ray signed off on it. They were looking at these records, and I think when you get in elected officials, United States senators, you have to be very careful. They really had very little reason to do it. It was not illegal. It would have been illegal if they went to the next step and tapped their phones without a warrant. But what they were doing there were fishing for business records. So it's what I characterize as an abuse of authority, a significant abuse of authority. And they were only looking for people who were members of one particular political party, of our two major parties.
Well, I'll tell you what. Yeah. Well, right. Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, yes, that's true. That's what we know so far. But we didn't even know that until 2 weeks ago. So who knows what else we don't know. And I would like to see Ray and Monaco and Garland subpoenaed to testify before congressional committees and take the full public skewering and interrogation as to what else was going on, and let them explain the bases for green lighting these sorts of activities, and let them respond to assertions about the precedent it sets and so forth. I'd like to see that.
Yes, and what we need internally in the DOJ and the FBI, not just firing individual people. What we need is a change in the culture and a change in the policy, so that kind of promiscuous investigations of public officials do not take place without sufficient cause.
Thomas Baker, retired
FBI has to change for that.
Thomas Baker, retired FBI special agent and legal attaché, author of The Fall of the FBI, How a Once Great Agency Became a Threat to Democracy. Thomas Baker, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And he joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This month, Pure Talk is supporting Canines for Warriors, a terrific organization that trains rescue dogs and then pairs them up with combat vets struggling with PTSD. This is why I switched to Pure Talk. Sure, I like the unlimited talk, text, and plenty of 5G data for just $25 a month, and you will too. But you will love being in business with a company that shares your values. Dial pound 250, say micro, and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and LifeLock is here with tips to help protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication on your accounts, report phishing, and update your software on all your devices. And for comprehensive identity protection, LifeLock is your best choice. LifeLock not only alerts you to suspicious uses of your personal information, but also fixes identity theft, guaranteed, or your money back. So stay smart, stay safe, and stay protected with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use the promo code BECK. Terms do apply.
Hey, Doc, nice office. Quick question. If you had to choose, would you give yourself a root canal or run payroll?
Run payroll, no question.
Seriously? Have you run payroll before?
Paying my team with Gusto couldn't be easier. Gusto gives me unlimited payroll runs, next-day direct deposits, and automatically files my taxes. Saves me time.
Wow, that's nice.
Over here, Doc. Can I run payroll too?
Choose payroll without the pain. Visit gusto.com/radio to sign up for free.
I've worn the uniform. I have stood beneath our flag, and I have fought for what it stands for. I'm Megan Terry, and I serve in the U.S. Army. At Collins Flags, that feeling of pride goes into every single stitch because they're made right here in the USA by folks just like me. This Veterans Day, show your love for the men and women who serve. Fly a Collins, American, or military flag with honor. Buy yours at collinsflags.com today. That's collinsflags.com. American made, proudly waved.
Why would you take your precious metal collections to some fly-by-night roadshow that rolls into town once a year? The only thing you need to do is follow the road to Fox Valley Coins and show your gold or silver to Marlin and the team. Gold is at an all-time historical high, so don't keep sitting on your coin hoards or old jewelry that you've been saving to sell when the time is right. The time is right now. Prices have never been better on most collector and gold coins. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is trying to keep up with demand. So they're paying the most ever on not only most gold coins in bars, but also those old coin collections. You might have scarce dates or higher grade coins, so take advantage of the record high market price and the demand now. Whether you're buying or selling, or just want to find out values, trust the team at Fox Valley Coins. Fox Valley Coins is on Route 59, just one light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
You know, nothing beats the comfort of a perfectly heated home.
And when it comes to heating your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Air Right Heating and Cooling is fast. When your furnace breaks down, they'll fix it right away.
Just like that. Big time results. No waiting around. You get the job done right. And let's face it, who doesn't love being warm, right? It's beautiful. When it's freezing, I crank up that amazing furnace. Burn, baby, burn. Trust me, you'll say, wow, I've never felt this warm in my life.
If you like keeping your hard-earned money, then contact Air Right Heating and Cooling. Tell them AM 560 sent you, and right now you'll receive $56 off any service.
Unbelievable.
Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
Are you tired of tech headaches slowing your business down? Unique Computing Solutions has been the go-to IT team for businesses in Illinois and Northwest Indiana for nearly 30 years. Your systems should be running smoothly, your data secured, and your communications streamlined. Visit our website today at uniquecomputingsolutions.com. That's uniquecomputingsolutions.com. uniquecomputingsolutions.com. Your IT challenges solved.
I've been screwing up all the chores at home. Hey, we all make mistakes. But darn it, my wife still isn't mad at me.
You want her to be mad?
Yeah, so I can sleep on the James sofa from Penny Mustard.
With the extra deep seats.
And ultra high density foam cushions.
You're messing up on purpose so you can sleep on the James sofa?
I gotta admit, it's a pretty good plan.
The James sofa, starting at $22.96 at Penny Mustard.
7 Chicagoland showrooms.
PennyMustard.com.
Better versions of what people want.
AM 560. The Answer.
Coming up at 7:37, Governor Jelly Belly, sitting down with our friend Bret Baier, says he certainly wants federal help to make Chicago safer, but just, the federal help that he wants and not the federal help that he doesn't want. We'll hear that and get reaction from Mark Krikorian from the Center for Immigration Studies at 7:37. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 37 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Starting off the weekend with beautiful weather here in Chicago. Sunny skies today, highs topping out around 52 degrees. As federal agents ramp up an immigration crackdown here in the Chicago area, an increasing number of elected officials are getting caught in the crosshairs. Members of Chicago's City Council and their staff members, state legislators, and congressional candidates have all been threatened, handcuffed, and even detained in recent days. The Trump administration has said that anyone who interferes or threatens federal officers will face consequences. But the elected leaders here in Illinois say that it's an alarming escalation of tactics in United States cities that's meant to spark fear and intimidation. The Chicago Transit Authority is warning riders that elevated rail lines will not be running in the loop this weekend. Officials with the transit agency say crews are going to be working to replace track switching equipment at the Tower 18 junction, and that requires the suspension of the brown, green, orange, and pink lines between Clark and Lake and Washington and Wells. That's going to start at 4 a.m. tomorrow morning and it'll last until 2 a.m. on Monday. Trains will run normally outside of the loop. The affected stations will also be closed during these times. Service along the red and blue lines will be unaffected as they run underground. CTA is offering free shuttle bus services for riders in those areas, and you can find detailed information at the CTA website, transitchicago.com. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, happening on Saturday, November 8th at Westin Chicago Northwest in Itasca. This year, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, along with Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, and many more. This event will sell out fast, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Lutheran Life Communities, Virago, and by Senior Helpers of Naperville.
Schweitzer Engineering Laboratories Incorporated, SEL, has openings for its process engineer position. The process engineer will focus on development, deployment, expansion, and sustainment of SEL's manufacturing processes. He or she will also develop, implement, and improve SEL's assembly process equipment and materials to improve quality, yield, efficiency, and capacity. Positions are based at SEL's Lake Zurich field office. To apply, please email your resume to careers@selinc.com. That's careers@selinc.com. Discover the opportunities available at this world-class manufacturing company. Schweitzer Engineering Laboratories. It's not just a job, it's a future.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-367-2816. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-367-2816. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-367-2816. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-367-2816 or biglou.com.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. We're slow on the inbound Kennedy from O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange, 28 minutes. Outbound also sluggish at 30. No delays both ways on the Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose. The northbound Tri-State is slow approaching the Eisenhower. Inbound Eisenhower is 24 minutes from Wolf to the Old Post Office. Outbound is 20. Inbound Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore is 32. Outbound is 17. Stop and go outbound on 57. Inbound between Halstead Street and the Dan Ryan, and the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Byrne Interchange. That's pretty good at 19. Outbound also looking good at 11. This report is sponsored by Macy's Backstage. Macy's Backstage is a whole department inside your Macy's store where you can find the latest fall looks all for under $30. With new arrivals every day, you never know what amazing deals you'll find. Don't wait. Find a location at macysbackstage.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be sunny with a high of 54. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a low of 38. Tomorrow, we'll see sun peeking through high clouds, reaching a high of 56. Sunday will be partly sunny with a high of 59. Monday brings cloudy skies and breezy conditions in the afternoon with a high of 57. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Health Quest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba. Saturday mornings at 11. Visit healthquestradio.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, and many more. Get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Governor Jelly Belly was on with our friend Bret Baier, a special report yesterday as he's making the rounds, continuing to pitch his wares. He wants to make sure that the base of his party understands that he is the most reckless, irresponsible, and hysterical critic of President Trump. He wants that sash because he thinks that's the path to the nomination in 28. It's the path to re-election for governor and the path to the nomination for president in 28. That's what he thinks. But, you know, he also wants to present as reasonable, particularly when he's in a forum like he was earlier this week, the Economic Club of Chicago, where you can't, you know, completely howl at the moon. You can run some of your rap, but, for example, he's not going to run his... I believe that this whole Trump operation is part of a larger conspiracy to get the military into cities like Chicago for the purposes of stealing ballot boxes come next year and rigging the election, which is really literally what he says. But unless Bret Baier brings it up, he's not going to. He wants to sound more reasonable. And this is a good example of what I'm talking about.
It seems like I live, rent-free in his head. He talks about me all the time, just spontaneously. And all I can say is that we're having to deal with the invasion of his ICE agents, his CBP agents, and potentially of federalized National Guard who don't know anything about law enforcement. We could use help. By the way, I'd love to get help with law enforcement. FBI, ATF, DEA. We want to get gangs and guns and drugs off the streets. And we've asked for that kind of help. But instead, he's talking about sending troops. Why? Why?
Why? Well, because the Chicago police, who are down 2,000 officers, issued a stand-down order when ICE agents were in trouble the other week. Remember? That's why. Why? Because Illinois State Police, to their credit, cleared a path for ICE vehicles to get in and out of that federal facility in Broadview the other week. And you don't want law enforcement at the state and local level helping ICE, you and your buddy BJ. That's why. But, it's subtle, right? He gets the invasion shot in there to signal to his neo-Marxist base. But then, of course, I want federal law enforcement to help with dealing with gangs and drugs. Not really. It's just something he says. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Mark Krikorian. He is the executive director of the Center for Immigration Studies. Mark, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
You've been watching this activity in Chicago, which is sort of a, proxy for what's going on nationally in terms of the political and actual literal fights between ICE and state and local politicians and their supporters. Well, what's your perspective on our leaders, JB and BJ, and what's going on in Chicago?
Well, this is, when I was in school and studying the history of the Civil War, this is basically what South Carolina was doing. Nullification of federal law and attempting to create, provocations for the federal government to try to enforce the rules, and they don't want that. So, and the ironic thing is, these guys are basically playing the role of a kind of neo-Confederate nullification role, and there's just no excuse for it. And they can say what they want about this is this is the interest of Chicago or Cook County or Illinois. I mean, I don't think that's true, but it doesn't matter, because if illegal immigrants come into the United States or are able to stay in the United States, they can go anywhere. So this isn't just their business. This is everybody's business. It's a federal issue, and it matters what people in Maine and Alabama and Montana think about what people are doing with regard to immigration in Chicago.
Are you satisfied with the sort of 70-30 split that is been the statistic that's been bandied about by Tom Homan and Pam Bondi and others? 70% of those apprehended by ICE are people in this country with a criminal conviction other than being here illegally and or facing criminal charges. And by definition, the other 30% that have been apprehended and removed for deportation proceedings don't fit that description. So ostensibly, there's a lot of people, an insular minority, but still a lot of people in the aggregate that have been apprehended just for being in this country illegally. And the criticism from the left, which is the focus was supposed to be strictly on public safety threats, not somebody who's been here for 20 years and is working and contributing, and his only crime was the misdemeanor crossing the border illegally, and that wasn't supposed to be the focus. And if that wasn't happening and the focus was just on public safety threats, we'd have a lot less acrimony. What do you say to that?
Well, there's a couple things. First of all, every illegal alien is deportable every minute they're here. So it's just an issue of resources and priority. The second point is that almost every illegal immigrant has actually violated a whole slew of other federal criminal laws other than sneaking across the border illegally. And a lot of illegal immigrants came in legally on a visa and then just never left. So they didn't commit that crime. But tax fraud, ID fraud, if they're working, also perjury, because you have to sign that I-9 form when you get a job and show your ID. You're signing that on pain of perjury. There's a whole list of federal crimes. So it's not just, they crossed the border illegally and that's the end of it. And then the final thing is that percentage that you said, 70% roughly are somehow involved in crime and 30% aren't of the ones that get arrested. That actually would be higher if Chicago were not a sanctuary city, because then ICE would be in the jails and they would have their hands full processing all of the dirtbags that the police arrest just for normal police reasons. Drunk driving, drug dealing, wife beating, all of that stuff. The cops arrest illegal immigrants every day. If they weren't a sanctuary city, ICE would be able to be in there, take custody of the people that the city or county didn't want to prosecute, or if they did prosecute, when they were finished with them, they would hand them over to ICE, and they wouldn't be doing these kind of street arrests because they wouldn't have to go looking for people. Essentially the normal work of the police would be bringing a huge number of illegal immigrants to them kind of on a platter.
Let me give you a real case, a tough case. I give you the easy one so far, and I'm going to give you a tough one. Ruben Torres Maldonado. He's a painter that was detained by ICE this past weekend at a Home Depot in northwest suburban Niles, just northwest of Chicago. Lived in the U.S. since 2003. Working, he was a painter, hawking for jobs at Home Depot. And he has a 16-year-old daughter named Ophelia who has a rare form of cancer, stage 4. Take a listen.
This is 16-year-old Ophelia Torres and her dad, Ruben Torres Maldonado. She had just came home from Lurie Children's Hospital, still fighting a rare and aggressive form of stage 4 cancer. The next day, ICE arrested him. He's been held in Broadview since Saturday, waiting for his first court hearing. No calls, no visits. His family hasn't heard his voice since. His wife says time is something they do not have.
Yesterday, my daughter had a breakdown. She was crying for hours, and she's like, Mom, I know that I should be calm because cancer feeds from those things. Cancer cells are like, I have to be calm in order for them not to reproduce, but this is so hard.
ICE picked him up outside of a Home Depot in Niles while he was doing weekend painting jobs to help pay her medical bills. His lawyers say 4 masked agents surrounded his car and took him at gunpoint. Ruban's lived in Chicago since 2003 after entering the country without inspection, raising 2 U.S.-born kids in Portage Park. ICE claims he has habitual driving offenses, but his lawyer calls them minor tickets. The agency hasn't said why he was targeted that day.
And one more voice here. I mean, this is sort of undermines the case. I don't know why she wants to. Well, I do know why she wants to insert herself. But Delia Ramirez, who's a congresswoman and an open borders demagogue.
They should be together right now. But instead, Ruben became another person taken by this rogue agency. Ruben was taken and putting his family through the pain and stress and fear of separation is not making anyone safer.
No, I mean, we can easily dismiss the politician as the barbarian that she is, but the family, what do you say to that circumstance, that father, and that with those extenuating circumstances?
I mean, it's a terrible thing, obviously. But first of all, illegal immigrants don't get to stay because, you know, they have a compelling story for a family member. This guy has gotten away with his violation of the laws of the American people for 20 years. You get away, you know, if you rob a bank and nobody finds you for 20 years, you still robbed the bank. You don't get to keep the money. This kind of situation is always difficult, but the fact is she has another parent who's able to care for her, and unwinding 20, 30, 40 years of willful ignoring of immigration laws is going to inconvenience people.
Yeah,
it's going to be unpleasant because these situations have been allowed to develop. They never should have. And when you pull the plug on this, or let me put it this way, rip off the Band-Aid, it's going to cause some pain. There's no way around that.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's certainly maybe part of my answer is that they have put us, the open borders crowd and the politicians and their terrible public policies and their turning a blind eye to law enforcement have put the law-abiding in this position, and they're not the good guys and we're not the bad guys. It's actually the converse. You've made the position impossible. You've put these families in a precarious position, and you knew you were doing it. And you did it for political reasons. And now we're here to try to, restore order, and we're the bad guys. But the one other thing I would say is, look, you heard it in the report. Of course, nobody focuses on the process. They just focus on the sentimentality. But so he's in custody, but he has a hearing. I think he had a hearing yesterday, according to that report from earlier in the week. And so, I mean, if I'm an immigration judge, I mean, you can temper justice with mercy. Say, look,
sure.
I'll make a special dispensation for you to be with your family and your daughter, to care for your daughter and to be with her in these conditions and to make sure she has access to the sort of exigent care that she needs access to that she probably wouldn't get, Children's Lurie Hospital quality in their home country, whatever that is. I don't even know. But understand that, you're on the way out at some point, and have a check-ins or something like that, and you violate a check-in, then you're gone. So something like that where you can provide some, and this is where, human discernment comes in. You can provide some, relief without undermining ultimately the rule of law and what has to happen.
This is why immigration judges are allowed to release people on bond on some circumstances. Some people are not allowed to release on bond, but they can. And if I had to guess, I think that's what happened here, and they'd give them like an ankle monitor or something like that to keep track of them. But, you raise a point about discretion, basically. In other words, people in authority being able to exercise a little discretion when you need, when the law needs a little wiggle room. That's necessary. The problem is that all of our institutions related to immigration, whether it's immigration judges or others, have abused that discretion for decades. And so people are right to be suspicious when somebody says, okay, well, this person deserves a little bit of flexibility. And the answer, the first reaction from a lot of people is, well, this flexibility turns into basically ignoring the law when it's flexible for everybody all the time. So we need discretion. We need wiggle room in the law, but we also need people exercising that discretion who believe in enforcement of the law and not using discretion as a way to undermine.
Yeah. No, you're right. Of course you're right. And it's really interesting, too. Earlier this week, Pritzker talked about, we had a border crisis. This was at the Economic Club of Chicago, where he had to pretend to be, generally reasonable, which he's not. But we had this border security problem. Now we don't. And then he goes on saying, so we don't need ICE and this and that. So, but he never explained when we had this border problem and why we don't anymore. I thought that was very interesting. It's just, we had a problem and somehow it just magically went away. Of course, because he doesn't want to address it, because he was on the wrong side of that border problem that we had that is now gone away, that he's using the Trump administration's actual good work to secure our border to address the problem he was party to. And now he's using that to say, well, this is why we don't need ICE enforcement at the, state and local level.
And he's standing in the way of undoing what that 4 years of Biden disaster created. Biden ended up letting in, either affirmatively, just on purpose letting in, or looking the other way, something like 10, 11, maybe 12 million people who had no right to be here. Well, it seems like the Trump administration has a responsibility to try to undo as much of that as possible, and that is what this in the city and the county and state are, not just here, obviously, but in Los Angeles and Portland and elsewhere, are trying to stop. They're saying it's a sort of ratchet effect. Okay, Biden was bad, his policies were bad, but everybody who got in under his policies gets to stay anyway. And that can't be allowed.
Right. Mark Krikorian is the Executive Director, Center for Immigration Studies. Mark, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Mark joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
You okay down there?
I tripped over old china boxes in the basement, and now I'm stuck behind the ping pong table we never use.
I'm coming to the rescue, if I can find you.
If we finished this basement, we could actually enjoy this space.
I think it's time to call Forever Remodeling.
Forever Remodeling turns disaster zones into game rooms, guest bedrooms and bathrooms, home theaters, a custom space just for you. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hey all, Jim Carr here. I am the owner of Carr Machine and Tool in Elk Grove Village and loyal customer of Signature Bank. As a second generation owner, I knew I had to shift from operating as an old school machine shop to what I can proudly say is now one of the fastest growing aerospace manufacturing facilities in the region. Signature Bank was there every step of the way through our expansion efforts, including financing our new state-of-the-art facility. Their valuable industry expertise and constant communication throughout the construction process made our vision possible. Many thanks to Signature Bank for supporting Carr Machine and Tool. You set the bar high for other banks.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 8:08, basically some leavening We get to talk to Christian Toto from Hollywood and Toto. He had a good piece. Which Hollywood celebrity has the most vicious case of TDS? He'll go through the list at 8:08. It's now 8 o'clock on AM 560 WIND.
We haven't gotten one of these since the government shut down. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. An economic report that just came out this morning on inflation showing a slight increase in the consumer price index last month over August, but not quite as much as expected.
We came in 0.3% month over month. The street was looking for 0.4%. Year over year headline CPI coming in at 3%. The street was looking for 3.1%.
That's Fox Business Network, Cheryl Casoni. We just got this update also. Social Security recipients will get a 2.8% pay raise next year and a cost of living increase. President Trump is angry at Canada. Writing on Truth Social, it's been caught cheating, and he's upset over a commercial on TV.
In a social media post late Thursday, President Trump said he was ending all trade negotiations with Canada because of an ad created by the government of Ontario opposing U.S. tariffs. The ad features President Ronald Reagan criticizing the effects of tariffs in a 1987 radio address. The quotes are taken from different parts of Reagan's speech, but do not appear to have been altered.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers. Ontario's Premier Doug Ford just posted on X that President Reagan knew we are stronger together, calling U.S. and Canada friends, neighbors, and allies. Now, the president also claims that ad is an attempt to influence the Supreme Court, which will next month consider a challenge to the Trump legal authority to impose tariffs. Back to the government shutdown. It is now in day 24, and the next vote on stalled funding may not come till Monday. And as Republicans and Democrats blame each other, the House's minority leader is also upset about the president's White House construction project. Keem Jeffries tells MSNBC.
He's found time to demolish the east wing of the White House so that he can build a ballroom where he can be celebrated as if he was a king.
Fox's Peter Ducey reports from the White House.
Some of the country's biggest companies are putting money down for the ballroom, including Amazon and Meta. And President Trump says he's going to pitch in the rest.
So all donor money and money that we put up.
America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 40 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker is looking at potential future criminal charges against federal agents in Operation Midway Blitz. Fox's Jeff Manasso reports.
Signing an executive order Thursday, Governor J.B. Pritzker forming the Illinois Accountability Commission, made up of 9 Democrat-appointed personnel to track ICE action in and around Chicago, and federal agents involved in what the governor describes as civil rights abuses, all to be used when Democrats return to power in Washington.
When the time comes, Illinois will have the testimony and the records needed to pursue justice.
This as legal battles play out in Chicago and Illinois over ICE action, in which federal agents have also become victims of attacks in their targeting of what DHS says are the worst criminals here in the country illegally. In Chicago, Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
The Chicago Transit Authority is warning riders that the elevated rail lines will not be running in the loop this weekend. Officials with the transit agency say crews are working to replace track switching equipment at the Tower 18 junction, and that requires the suspension of the brown, green, orange, and pink lines between Clark and Lake and Washington and Wells. It starts at 4 a.m. tomorrow and goes through 2 a.m. on Monday. And an IT outage caused Alaska Airlines flights to be grounded yesterday evening. All Alaska flights were affected by the outage, and that was reported just before 6 p.m. Central Time. A similar outage halted flights for about 3 hours back in July. More than 200 flights, including many at O'Hare, were affected by yesterday's outage. Airlines says it was not a cybersecurity issue, but was due to a failure at its primary data center. News is a service of the daily podcast at Chicago's Morning Answer and the Sean Thompson Show. Hear both shows with limited commercials when you subscribe for free at the daily podcast at 560theanswer.com/podcasts. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes, but time now for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank.
I'm Liz Clayman, and this is the Fox Business Report.
The European Union is accusing Meta platforms of mishandling illegal content on Facebook and Instagram. EU regulators, the European Commission, says there is no simple way to flag the content, and users don't have adequate tools to appeal when their posts are removed. The tariff dispute with Canada is escalating. President Trump cut off trade talks over an anti-tariff ad, but also Canada is cutting the amount of auto imports it allows tariff-free for General Motors and Stellantis. It's a response to the automaker's plans to reduce manufacturing in Canada. Even Oreo cookies are being impacted by artificial intelligence. Mondelez, the company that makes Oreos, says it's now using generative AI to cut costs for marketing. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Cosola. Invested in you.
Catch more money with leading economist Steve Moore.
I'm excited about America. I think things are going really well. I think we've turned a corner here. I think Biden economics is well behind us now. This is a miracle what's going on here. If anything, it's better than I thought it would be. So many good things can happen in the economy. Low inflation, low unemployment rate, consumer confidence up, business confidence up. All of the indicators are pointing north right now.
It's More Money, Saturday at 3 on AM 560. The Answer. Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560. The Answer.
When the power goes out, life stops. Heat, AC, fridge, phones, all gone. But with a Generac home standby generator from True Power Generator Service, your home powers back on automatically, so you're never left in the dark. Book your consultation today at TruePowerGenerator.com. That's TruePowerGenerator.com. Plus, 560 listeners get a free 10-year extended warranty. Terms and conditions apply. Call for details. True Power Generator Service and Generac. It's not just a generator, it's a power move.
Dinesh D'Souza went into a war zone to make his new film, revealing never-before-seen footage of October 7th. The film offers a new way to understand Israel, radical Islam, anti-Semitism, and biblical prophecy.
Could the fate of the world be tied to this place?
The Dragon's Prophecy, based on Jonathan Cahn's international bestseller. Watch it now or buy the DVD at salemnow.com. That's salemnow.com.
Welcome back to Ask Hassellus. I'm Weston. What's your question?
What makes Hassellus Mattress different?
Aside from employee-free showrooms, free next-day delivery and haul-away, and way too low prices on Beautyrest, Sealy Posturepedic, and Serta Perfect Sleeper?
Yeah, besides that.
Well, Hassellus is locally owned.
You mean your franchise is locally owned?
We're not a franchise. Every showroom is owned and managed by the same family. So, when you shop at Hassellus, your money stays right here. And through Monday, our family wants to give you a $248 credit towards a new Beautyrest, Sealy Posturepedic, and Serta Perfect Sleeper just for shopping local.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Our 43 beds from the top 5 brands start at $393.
I like that.
Try and buy with no pushy sales guy.
I love that.
Free next day delivery too.
Thanks.
For what?
For being different.
Shop local and enjoy a $248 credit through Monday at Hassellus Mattress. Open 9 to 9. Find a no-hassle, employee-free showroom near you at hassellus.com.
This holiday season, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation is delivering on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices of America's greatest heroes during their annual Season of Hope. Between Thanksgiving and Christmas, the foundation is delivering mortgage-free homes to dozens of America's most catastrophically injured heroes and Gold Star and fallen first responder families. Help and honor America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, ETHOS, ethos.com/Mike.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Jam-packed on Route 80 westbound from Richland Avenue to 96th Avenue, all because of a flipped-over truck taking down 3 lanes at 96th Avenue. Now, you want to avoid this altogether. What you can do is stick with Lincoln Highway as your alternate. You're in great shape in both directions on the Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose, just 15 minutes. The inbound Kennedy, inbound from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange is 33 minutes. Outbound is 31. The Tri-State northbound is slow approaching the outbound Eisenhower, and the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the old post office is 32 minutes. Outbound is 31, and there's also an accident off on the shoulder at Wolf Road, and the delays begin at 25th Avenue. Inbound Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore is 37. Outbound is 18, and the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange is 27 minutes. Outbound looking good at 11. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be sunny with a high of 54. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a low of 38. Tomorrow, we'll see sun peeking through high clouds, reaching a high of 56. Sunday will be partly sunny with a high of 59. Monday brings cloudy skies and breezy conditions in the afternoon with a high of 57. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, and our friend Christian Toto, host of the Hollywood in Toto podcast, recently penned a piece essentially ranking the Hollywood celebrities that have the most virulent strain of TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome. So which celebrity has it the worst? Well, here's my nominee. He was at it again this week, Bobby De Niro.
He will not. We see it all the time. He will not want to leave. He set it up with his. I guess he's the Goebbels of the cabinet. Stephen Miller. He's a Nazi. Yes, he is, and he's Jewish. He should be ashamed of himself.
Yeah, that's a nice 1-2 punch in 20 seconds. Resuscitating the Trump won't leave, the same thing they said when he was elected in 2016. And then when he was declared the loser in 2020, I believe he left. You correct me if my memory is fading. But anyway, we're resuscitating that. He's never going to leave. Okay. And then you get in the Stephen Miller's a Nazi. Just matter of fact, yes, he is. He's the Goebbels, is I believe the proper pronunciation there, Bobby. But yeah, I mean, close enough for a room temperature intellect like yourself. All right, well, let's find out. Let's find out if I'm right that it's Bobby De Niro who has the worst case of TDS in Hollywood. Christian Toto, again, host of the Hollywood in Toto, TOTO, Hollywood in Toto podcast. Christian, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Oh, do we have Chris? You're cutting out there. Oh, there we go.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I was just saying that De Niro is a great choice for sure.
Okay.
He's got all the credentials. You know, I put something else into the story because I think if the TDS is really impacting your career, I think that's where it gets to a weird level. So I think that De Niro, God bless him, keeps on working. Good scripts, bad scripts, you name it, he does it. So as nutty as he is, and as one note as all his comments are, he just kind of keeps plugging away in Hollywood. So that's why I didn't make him my number one choice. That's also why people like Rosie O'Donnell and Kathy Griffin, I mean, their careers are really
over
on life support at this point. I mean, listen, Rosie went to Ireland. I don't know what she's doing now. I think she'll keep popping up now and then. And then Kathy Griffin just really never recovered from that holding up that fake head of Trump, and nor should she, honestly. That was a gross thing that she apologized for. I've apologized for.
Right, but I mean, for Kathy Griffin, I thought her career sort of peaked with news radio, and then it was gone. I mean, I guess she was a comedian, but I mean, she's not of any particular note.
No, her D-list shtick, I think she even had a reality show about that. That was kind of fun, and I saw her, remember, a few years back and on stage, and she had like a tabloid making fun of Hollywood angle, which I thought was fresh and clever, and she's not, she can be funny. But, she's just gotten bitter and angry and sad, and that's never a good look for a comedian.
No, it isn't. All right. We'll keep running the list. I want to see who wins.
Yeah, I was going to mention Rob Reiner, but I think he's dialed it down in recent months. He made some comments recently. I think he might have been on MSNBC or a similar outlet. And listen, he was maybe the top TDS guy for quite some time. But, it was funny. I think it was maybe after the election, he hinted he might be going into some sort of counseling or treatment or something. Like he mentioned it briefly on social media, and he kind of ducked away a bit. So I think even he realizes he needed to step back. And then he made the Spinal Tap sequel, which no one saw.
Yeah.
He's a fine choice. They're all fine choices. There's no losers.
They're all fine people.
Very fine people on both sides of this debate. But my choice really is Jimmy Kimmel. And, and I think for me, Jimmy Kimmel genuinely put his entire career at risk for his TDS, where he saw the Charlie Kirk assassination and thought, I need to weaponize this. I need to make it about Trump. I need to make it about getting him and his movement. And that's what, his infamous quote now, basically blaming MAGA for Charlie Kirk's assassination, was just gross and vile and not funny. And the kind of thing that a professional broadcaster should never say. And then we had the chance to apologize, which would have been the next night, and say, hey, I said something last night. I regret it. It wasn't, I'm trying to be funny here, but that was really misdirecting what we know about the killer. He couldn't do it. And then when he was, banned for a week and suspended, and it looked like his show may never come back, when he finally did come back, he still couldn't apologize. And ever since then, he's been getting worse and worse and worse with lies. So I think he's the champion here. I think he's the king of the Trump deranged.
I'm not to tell you your business. You're the Hollywood guy. But I think, I was just reflecting on this, thinking about this piece that you did. And we were reflecting a little bit earlier in the week on the No Kings rallies over the weekend, because this is so, 2017 all over again. It was women's marches then. It's No Kings now. It's the same people, different costumes, more or less the same issues, maybe with some different intensities. But I think you need to do a TDS Hall of Fame, because I think you need to honor the TDS, the worst TDS sufferers from the first term that are no longer present and accounted for, as well as the second term. Some people fell off after the first term. I'm thinking like of Ashley Judd in Madonna, when Madonna wanted to bomb the White House, and Ashley Judd was talking about her bloody jeans. That deserves some recognition.
I agree completely. It is a different phase of Trump derangement. And also, I start my story with Michael Rappaport, who raged against Donald Trump almost daily. He's got a podcast. He's on social media. He called him a pig bleep or something. It was cartoonishly over the top. But you know what? When he saw what Trump was doing with Israel, with Hamas, with the peace movement, he had a change of heart. And he actually talked about how he heard that the Very Fine People hoax was a hoax, and he apologized for believing it. So I think there is a cure for TDS. It's just letting information in. Listen, I don't worship Donald Trump. I think he's deeply flawed in many ways. But, to go to the lengths that these people go to is just sad.
I've been corrected. I misremembered, and what an offense I've committed to Vicki Lewis. Kathy Griffin, she was not on News Radio. That was Vicki Lewis.
Oh, that's right.
They sort of had that same look, but she was on some sitcom. Wasn't
Suddenly
she?
Susan, I believe.
Oh, okay. I don't know if I actually watched that. I think I just misidentified her. I apologize to Vicki Lewis and her extended family for that. That affront.
That should be like a cookie bouquet poem. That apology should be everlasting.
Yeah, exactly. So for generations to come yet. I'm sorry. And I love News Radio too. That was a great sitcom. That was, that was Phil Hartman at his best back.
Oh gosh, yeah. What a cast too.
Dave Foley and Stephen Root. I remember Joe Rogan. That's where Joe Rogan got his big break, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So, okay. I do remember it. I'm sorry about that mental slip there. So we got to talk to you about what is good coming out of Hollywood, even if we don't agree with them politically. There's still some good artists there. And what are you watching? What are you liking? What are you excited about?
I am getting into Tulsa King. This is the third season, which is solid. I think.
Oh no, formula. We got a disagreement. All right, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. No, go ahead on Tulsa King. Give us your review of the third season so far.
Me, okay. I mean, I'm 3 episodes in. I think it's predictable now. You can kind of tell who's going to live, who's going to die, what's going to happen. But I just think it's so much fun that I still enjoy it, and I think that this is a great role for Stallone. It's stupid to say he's born to play it because he played Rambo and Rocky, but I think at this point in his career, given his gravitas, I think he just fits it beautifully.
So, I mean, we think we've talked about Tulsa King before, and it was sort of like a guilty pleasure for the first couple of seasons. But for me, this third season is off the rails. I mean, it's just schmaltzy. I can't stand these characters anymore. I think their development has tapped out. I mean, it's become. I mean, it's already become. I mean, all these the characters become redundant in certain respects, always because they're part of an ensemble cast and they have an angle, but. But I mean, I just think that the interactions between Stallone and Dana Delaney, I find that tortured. The dude who plays his driver is just annoying to me now. I mean, I'm not there. I'm struggling through it so far.
Well, I would say for a show about gangsters, you need the genuine threat of death, and you get the sense they don't want to kill off any of these beloved characters, and that's a problem. So there's no real sense of payoff here. There's no real gravitas. That's my big issue.
Yeah, and the moments where somebody might get killed, and I'm not going to spoiler alert it. I mean, it doesn't really happen in the way the plot devices they used to get out of it are not, particularly plausible. I don't know. It seems to me like it's one of those shows where the writers had 2 seasons in the can, and let's see what happens. And if we need to write a third season, we'll do it really fast in the middle of the second season and try and figure it out.
Yeah, listen, some shows do have a shelf life. And listen, some shows are amazing through season 6, 7, 8. I don't know how they do it, but they do. And I definitely see cracks in the armor here, and I think that it's starting to show. And again, it's sad, but not every show needs to go 8 seasons. I mean, sometimes 2 or 3 is just enough. Remember, it was a Bloodline or Bloodlines. There was a Netflix show with
that was good.
Yeah, it was great, but it was a 1-season show that they dragged out to 3. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's clearly the fame got to its head. This is a story that had to end. It did end, much like the recent Black Rabbit. I don't know if they're going to do a second season. But if they do, it makes no sense because this is a 1-season show that I found very entertaining.
Yeah, I agree with your assessment on both of those shows. Did you see Lost Bus with McConaughey?
No, I haven't. It kind of just slipped out. I think it's an Apple TV joint. Mm-hmm. Yeah, have you seen it?
I did, and I'll tell you what. I mean, I knew it was. And I'm not a McConaughey fan, okay, but he was good, and it's really good, but I knew it was going to be good because it's Paul Greengrass. Sometimes you have to look at the directors, and I mean, the Bourne Identity and United 93. I mean, he's just always good. He's one of the best out there. Doesn't have the same profile maybe as some others, but I just knew it was going to be good because he's just so good at telling a story like I knew that story was going to be.
And it's fascinating that there are many good films out there that just slip under the radar, that maybe in a streaming platform that you might not have, or maybe just don't get enough attention at theaters. So you really have to be kind of a discerning viewer these days to kind of suss out the good stuff, because there's a lot of junk out there, obviously true.
Yeah. So other than, and the good thing is if Tulsa King flames out, you've got Landman season 2 coming up the middle of next month. So I'm looking forward to that. But anything else you're looking forward to that you want to recommend to, or you've seen and you recommend to our listeners?
I haven't seen the new Springsteen movie, Deliver Me From Nowhere. They didn't screen it here in the Denver area where I live. I'm surprised by that. The box office looks very weak so far. I mean, it's a complicated story about him recording Nebraska. It doesn't sound like a typical rah-rah biopic, but I'm still curious to see it. I mean, I'm not even a big Springsteen fan, but he's an icon. I mean, I don't like his politics, but he's a great musician and a great talent, and he deserves that kind of a close-up. So I want to catch up with that as soon as possible. And I still haven't seen the Spinal Tap sequel. I'm kind of gritting my teeth. I just can't imagine it being good. I've heard very mixed reviews, so that one is one I want to catch up on. I think it's on VOD right now.
One sequel. I don't think I mentioned this, and I think it came out since the last time we talked. But I mean, I was skeptical. But the Naked Gun redo with Liam Neeson and Pam Anderson, have you seen it?
Yeah, shockingly solid, I thought.
So did I. There were enough gags that I thought it was actually, you can't beat Leslie Nielsen, but there were enough gags that were pretty good that I didn't see coming. And frankly, the interaction between Liam Neeson and Danny Houston, the antagonist, some of that stuff was really funny. I thought it was definitely worth seeing.
Yeah, and Liam Neeson, I think, was a nice choice, very against typecasting. But that was what Leslie Nielsen was. He was a serious, almost boring actor, like a kind of a leading man, handsome. And they said, let's put him in a goofy film, have him act straight, pretend that nothing is wrong, and it was a beautiful combination. I think it worked again here.
Christian Toto, the host of the Hollywood in Toto, TOTO.com, Hollywood in Toto, Christian Toto. Thanks so much for joining us as always, Christian. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And Christian Toto joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Chicago businesses, you can't afford to be down. You don't have time to wait for IT support. You need one company that does IT well and does it right. Meet Access One, your local Chicagoland IT experts. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for over 30 years from our headquarters right here in the West Loop. Whether it's VoIP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One is here for you. Chicago owned, Chicago run, and serving thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore. Access One is the trusted IT partner for law firms, clinics, tech startups, to manufacturers. Rated top 5% in customer satisfaction and a Better Business Bureau A+ rated business. Access One is your one vendor for everything tech. Let's talk. Call 800-654-1555 or visit accessoneinc.com. That's accessoneinc.com. Tech made personal, locally.
Schweitzer Engineering Laboratories Incorporated, SEL, has openings for its process engineer position. The process engineer will focus on development, deployment, expansion, and sustainment of SEL's manufacturing processes. He or she will also develop, implement, and improve SEL's assembly process equipment and materials to improve quality, yield, efficiency, and capacity. Positions are based at SEL's Lake Zurich field office. To apply, please email your resume to careers@selinc.com. That's careers@selinc.com. Discover the opportunities available at this world-class manufacturing company. Schweitzer Engineering Laboratories. It's not just a job, it's a future.
AM 560. The Answer.
Open mic! Open mic Friday! Call it now! Open mic Friday!
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. And yes, it's that time of week, Open Mic Friday. Taking your calls, 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line and text line. Taking your comments, your criticisms, your compliments, your concerns, your general crack pottery. We take it all, but we begin, as we do, with Turnkey.pro founder David Kolsak. David?
Good morning, Dan. In the past week, we've seen some pretty interesting memes, one being shared by Donald Trump in response to the No Kings rallies last weekend. There's a video that shows Trump wearing a crown, piloting a fighter jet labeled King Trump, flying over what appears to be Times Square. And hear the Kenny Loggins song made famous by the movie Top Gun playing while Trump drops a brown liquid resembling sewage onto a crowd of protesters. The video was created by an ex-user but then reposted by Trump, gaining widespread attention and backlash. Trump is the ultimate troll, and I found it funny, but the real funny thing about the video that I saw is that there was a watermark of sorts displayed during every frame that says AI generated, kind of emboldened over it, as if anyone would believe that was real. However, when you look at what can be done today using Grok and Sora, you've got to be really careful on what you believe is real in this world of AI. The main target on that funny Trump video is the target of the sewage, and that kid's name is Harry Sisson, who's a popular left-wing social influencer who's quite annoying, at least to those on the right. But clearly the AI operator wanted to make sure that Harry Sisson got the majority of the excrement. In response to the video meme, Sisson responded on X, "Can a reporter please ask Trump why he posted an AI video of himself dropping poop on me from a fighter jet? That would be great." Later on, Piers Morgan, he said, "I don't think the president behaving this way is funny. We have to hold our leaders to a higher standard." I mean, this kid has called Trump a traitorous felon, not serious, running scared from everything, terrified of us, and that MAGA weirdos are not very bright. But he should be thanking Trump for all the publicity he's getting. And can you imagine the responses to Trump reposting that video? You've got Mike Johnson poop splash. You've got J.D. Vance dressed as a maid serving Trump McDonald's while Putin and Kim Jong-un burn an American flag. Another cartoonish video with Joe Biden dropping sludge on Trump, Vance, and Johnson. With all that's going on in the world, this is really silly, but I'd rather have a meme war than a real war. But all of this aside, we've got to be careful about anything that we see online for its authenticity, from UFO sightings to Gaza footage to scenic drone shots and new car models to boats being blown out of the water. You just don't know what's real. My kids are 17 and 22 years old, and they pointed out to me that most people over 50 believe everything they see online. And I have to confess that I certainly have fallen victim to that. I saw the other day that they had a full 4-minute video on the new John Deere pickup truck that started at $15,000. It looked very real, and the truck was really nice looking, even though it was AI generated. Sadly, it wasn't real. But now this video might have just been a social media trick to get people to react and for John Deere to get some clever marketing insight. Who knows? But in an age where artificial intelligence can generate videos so lifelike that they blur the line between fiction and reality, the stakes for the truth have never been higher. So what once required Hollywood-level production now takes minutes with the right AI tools, and the consequences could be profound. Remember the movie Wag the Dog? Imagine a video of a world leader declaring war, a celebrity committing a crime, or a protester being shot, all fabricated yet indistinguishably from reality. These aren't just science fiction scenarios. They're happening right now. So this viral video of Donald Trump piloting a fighter jet and dropping feces on protesters like Harry Sisson is a prime example. It was clearly AI generated and shared by Trump himself and viewed by millions. While many of us saw it as satire, others believed it was real, however stupid they might be. The damage was immediate, the confusion was widespread, and my point is that AI video technology is powerful, and like all powerful tools, it can be used for good or evil, to enlighten or to deceive. And as citizens, creators, and leaders, we must be treating ultra-realistic AI videos not just as entertainment, but as an instrument of influence. So the truth is no longer what we see, it's what we can verify. So we keep asking questions.
All right. Thank you, David. Speaking of AI, Andy Cuomo released an AI ad that hits Mamdani. It sort of a little bit takes a page out of the book that I used back in the day during the Jeannie Ives campaign, the sort of the thank you Bruce Rauner ad, where it was, his constituents thanking him for the policy choices he made, but it wasn't really complimentary, and it really didn't serve his interests in the context of a Republican primary. Well, that's sort of what Cuomo is doing with all of these Mamdani supporters. It becomes clear pretty early on that they're not the kind of supporters that you would want to trumpet to the larger public. I thought it is. I mean, to David's point, it was pretty impressive. I mean, this is a political commercial. This isn't real. That's obvious, but it's just pretty impressive what a tool AI is to probably relatively cheaply create an ad that I think is pretty good.
Zohran Mamdani's opponents want you to believe he's an inexperienced radical whose policies will make New York City more dangerous. But what do his actual supporters think?
Mamdani isn't crazy.
He's just trying to even the playing field.
Give everyone a fair shot. Sure, he said multiple times we need to defund the police, but that was just a metaphor.
And yes, he did say crime is a social construct. But that was also a metaphor.
His main backer, the Democratic Socialists' ideas are common sense, such as
decriminalizing misdemeanors, like shoplifting.
And the guy shoplifts.
Third-degree assault.
And he's assaulting
trespassing. Prostitution.
He's a pimp.
And drunk driving.
She's driving drunk.
With plans to decriminalize all drugs, Mamdani will be a job creator for drug dealers.
Instead of helping us homeless get off the streets and into the mental health facilities we need, he wants to give us safe injection sites to do crack and let us sleep in subway carts. These are actual policies Mamdani and the DSA want to implement on day one. When a woman's being domestically abused, she finally won't have to deal with some pesky cop to arrest the abuser, but now a social worker to help, kumbaya the situation.
Breathe in, breathe out.
Mamdani is finally lowering jail sentences. Guilty!
But Mamdani says you're free to go.
Woo-hoo! Who cares if legalizing prostitution statistically leads to an increase for sex trafficking of women and young girls by 70%?
You can't have safety without equality.
For unlawful abiding citizens like us, globalize the intifada.
I'm a criminal. I'm a criminal. I'm a criminal.
I'm a criminal.
Yep. I'm a criminal. For Zoran. For Zoran Mamdani.
Yeah, criminals for Zoran Mamdani. Yeah, it's not bad. A little too late, but, for the entertainment value of it, if nothing else. And it will be, I think, for nothing else. Rick in Downers Grove, you're in Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning. Great show as usual. And but I've been thinking, there's two questions that have pondered mankind for eons. And with, your huge audience, I figured there's got to be somebody out there who can at least formulate a theory of why these two things happen to be true. And the first one is, like in the winter, you put on you can hang around a house, in the summer, you hang around, you're going to go outside, you put on a pair of pants that are short. They're called shorts. But in the winter, when you put on a pair of pants that are long, why aren't they called longs? And the other situation, and this is even more bizarre.
It's an important question there, Jack Handy. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, well, this one's even more bizarre. You go to a restaurant, you order your meal, you order your beverage. What do you do with your beverage? You drink it, and it's called your drink. Your meal, you eat it. Why is that not called your eat? I have spent many hours in a dark room staring at the ceiling pondering these questions. That could explain why I'm still single, but it doesn't answer those questions. And maybe somebody out there could come up with an answer why these are true.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for that Aristotelian contribution, Rick, Downers Grove. Appreciate that. Jerome, Palos Hills.
Hey, Dan, I just wanted to ask you, whatever happened about that update from Smelling about whether the police were ordered to stand down, even though we all heard from the dispatcher that it sure sounded like it?
That's a great question, Jerome. Thanks for reminding us about that. We should check back with CPD about that. There was going to be a after-action investigation and report to understand what exactly happened if, as Snelling initially said, there was no stand-down order given, even though we heard the stand-down order. Yeah, one of those things that being investigated, an investigation that will span the existence of mankind. Yeah. Good question. We'll check back on that. See if he'd like to offer any conclusions about that dispatch traffic that we heard when ICE asked for CPD to back them up amid not so peaceful protesters. Good to bring that back. Tom, Blue Island.
Hey, Dan, good morning. Happy Friday. I noticed as you were speaking with Christian Toto, he properly recognized Bruce Springsteen as a musical genius. I felt out here in Blue Island, I could sense, you probably cringing on the radio, and then that was probably confirmed by afterwards. You didn't even respond to what he said about the Boss Man, my friend.
Which was what? Oh, that he's like a talented musician. I mean, I think he's talented. I guess I like Glory Days and Stranger in Disguise. But yeah, I'm not, anybody who's had a career as long as his, he's proven something. So I respect that. I don't agree with his politics. I'm not a huge Springsteen fan. Like I said, a couple of songs, just not my cup of tea. But I mean, I'm not saying he's not worth a biopic or a documentary. So I take Christian Toto's point. I don't really disagree with him. And even he said he's like not the biggest Springsteen fan, but he recognized him as a talented artist. Yeah, I can abide that. Joe, St. Charles.
Good morning, Dan. Love the show. Good morning, serfs and fellow comrades. I'm tired of this approach of socialism where it's a la carte. They want this piece, that piece. I really want them to adopt the part where if there's wrongdoing, they just take them out to a stump and shoot them in the head. Let's go all in, Dan. Happy Friday.
Okay, Joe. Just wants to skip ahead, huh? David in Racine, Wisconsin.
Greetings and salutations. Just a thought, a little of AOC's buffoonery meets Dave's pop culture crack pottery. This is when AOC said that Trump is making the air undrinkable and the water unbreathable. All I could think of was the Dick Van Dyke Show episode, They May Be Walnuts, the references to the Twilights drinking air and breathing water.
Okay, thanks for the call, David. Speaking of AOC, her partner there, the senior that she cares for, Comrade Bernie, he was on Tim Dillon's podcast, leftist, of course, but he said something interesting, something that Bernie can get away with saying because he's got enough maple syrup-addled socialists in Vermont that he doesn't need to import any.
If you don't have any borders, then you don't have a nation, right? In a sense. So has historically the United States done well under Democrats and Republicans in protecting the border? The answer is no. Trump did a better job. I don't like Trump, but we should have a secure border. And it ain't that hard to do. Biden didn't do it. Those before him did not do it. We should have a secure border, period.
Wow. How about that? I don't know. AOC may want to make sure that she minds him a little closer because that clearly is not her position. She was calling ICE jackbooted thugs before it was all fashionable, back in Trump term 1, promoting open borders with the rest of the socialist Spice Girls. As I said, Comrade Bernie doesn't need him up in Vermont as much as a lot of metropolitan neo-Marxists do around the country. So he can, take the sensible position. All right. The Prime Minister in Ogden Dunes, Indiana.
Thank you, perspicacious Prof. As a side note, I've never put together the Chicago and Springsteen before, but when you think of the line, baby, this town rips the bones from your back, it's a death trap, it's a suicide rap. We got to get out while we're young.
Baby, we were born to run from Chicago. Got it.
Correct. Okay. So now while you were away, I was fired from my employment with J.B. Lizzo, and now I'm hoping you can get me in with Dombrowski. So here's what I've come up with. Everyone's aware of his tax returns, what they reveal. That J.B. Lizzo is a big gambler. No pun intended. He's a high roller, and I'd like to discuss with you, Dan. First of all, was that your line? He's against kings unless they follow a split pair of aces?
That was my line, yeah.
That was brilliant. How did you do it?
How did I do what? How did I come up with that?
I spend my life trying to craft inspired rejoinders for you, and here you came up with a line better than some of my best.
Well, I like JB. I like to play cards too, so I immediately, thought Kings and JB's gambling, which I still have so many questions about that have gone unanswered.
I have a lot of them.
And
a lot of questions.
So I don't know. It just
Can I tell you that he's been losing for years? but he doesn't put them on his tax returns for obvious reasons. Now, you know, those casino managers, they love the heavy gamblers, no pun intended. They're profitable. So I think it's not nice that they call JB a whale. But now I thought, you know, I used to think Moby Dick was a venereal disease, but with these pit bosses, when they call him a whale, then your identitarian left calls him a great white whale. And then now that leaves me to get an AI contract to do ads for Dombrowski as Captain Ahab. What do you think?
All right, PM. We'll run that up the flagpole. Eduardo in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, good morning, Dan. Well, I heard the story this week that Florida is number one as far as home cash purchases, which is what I did a couple of years ago. So after next month's election in New York, Mr. Madami, expect that to continue.
Yes, thanks for the call. Right, the flight from Gotham will continue. And by the way, particularly, it's not just that Mamdani gets elected. The flight to the Sunshine State will continue if what DeSantis has designs on comes to pass. I'll tell you that.
So we got to put it on the ballot, and the voters have to approve it. It's a constitutional issue in Florida. It's not something the state derives revenue for. It's a local issue. We're trying to focus on Florida homeowners and their primary resident. People that have Airbnbs or whatever, you know, that's separate. Yeah. But your personal home, you shouldn't rent it from the government. You should own it. And, you know, you're paying taxes for 50 years. But even for young families, it's become very difficult across this country to make ends meet. Wouldn't it be great if they were able to have home ownership without having the burden of property tax that? So that's coming to a ballot near you in November of 2026. And we need 60% of Florida voters to do it. And I think it's going to be very popular. But it's also something that's not an easy bar to reach when you have an election like that.
Need 60% of voters to amend the Constitution to eliminate property taxes in Florida. Wow. I mean, that would be astounding. I need to dig into this some more. I will, and we'll talk about it more next week. I mean, it's one thing. I always talk about states like Tennessee and Florida, even low-tax states like Indiana that have hard caps on property taxes at 1, 2, and 3% on residential, commercial, and farm, respectively. Or maybe I have that wrong. Residential, farm, commercial. But regardless, point is to say, and those states, you know, they've got police forces, they've got fire departments, they have state workers, they provide pensions for everybody, they have schools, government school systems, and frankly, those government school systems are producing better results than Illinois school systems. So it's amazing that these no-income tax, Texas is another one, no-income tax states, and even low property tax states can do all of those things, those core government services, and have that sort of tax regime. And Illinois does all of those things much less effectively at a much higher tax rate imposition. Isn't that interesting? Well, DeSantis is going next level with this ballot initiative. I mean, this is really interesting. Get in while the getting's good. There's going to be a stampede. We got to hear from our poet laureate, Joe, from Arlington Heights, Chicago's Morning Answer poet laureate.
Good morning. And earlier in the show, we talked about the deadly accidents with illegal aliens with CDLs, followed by the policing of the feds by local officials. And I just threw together a quick poem called Marxist Charades.
Marxist what?
Charades.
Okay.
Yeah. We are all victims now of the nonsense Democrats allow. Blackmail instead of negotiations, healthcare for illegals in our nation. Name not given a logical use for 40 tons on the loose. Anyone can drive a tractor trailer when your immigration hearing is 10 years later. From Portland to Broadview, the anarchists play. Soros providing them with signs and some pay. Joined by illegals unwilling to assimilate, all riot and scream, you fascists are full of hate. ICE agents, families now full of dread, corrupt governors and mayors, the police, the feds. J.B. Gavin, Brandon, and Bass lead this parade, while countless Democrats amplify the charade. This is how the revolution starts. Marxists with vitriol in their hearts. Ignorant masses won't realize the rebellion is beginning until Antifa joins the truckers in the killing. And that is Marxist Charade by Joe from Arlington Heights.
Very good, Joe. Thank you. Appreciate
You're
your
welcome.
prose as always. Very good. Jim in Sheboygan.
Yeah, so earlier you were talking about the whale and his gambling winnings, and I think we need to rename him a fish, and maybe the gambling winnings came from a different venue, and I'm going to be interested in listening to what the FBI digs up and looking for the future, but maybe the whale has become a fish.
Well, thanks for the call, Jim. I don't know. I still, like, the thing about Pritzker, and nobody's talking about this, I won this $1.4 million in one sitting. Well, why don't you give us the details on that? Where it was, how long you played, what your average bet? I mean, gamblers know, I know, what that would have to look like, on a probability basis. So a lot of other people, they've emailed me about it too. I know we had a little chat about it. But there's something else too. His spokesman said in the initial article, which I mentioned, that $1.4 million in gambling winnings against gambling losses, right? So it was net $1.4 million because you report the winnings and you can deduct the losses. So how many other times did you gamble and where? How much did you win in the aggregate? How much did you lose by extension? I mean, give us the whole picture here. You like to play cards. Fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Nobody's saying you did anything illegal that we know of. Certainly not just playing blackjack in Vegas. So why not tell us the whole story? All this I got very lucky business. Oh, you're being too modest. Come on. We did basic strategy. As I said, do you have is it a high-low count? Is it just aces and faces? What's your program, man? No? Nobody's interested in that. And the response of like, it just shows how out of touch he is. Yeah, everybody knows he's a billionaire. Right? And if you don't sort of understand the hypocrisy of this, the billionaire with the common touch for a guy who is a billionaire because he's a member of the Lucky Sperm Club, then, at this point, 8 years in, you're not going to convince anybody of that. So forget all this like he's out of touch. You either believe that or not at this point. Yeah, that he's down with the struggle of Johnny Lunch Pail and Sally Housecoat. If you believe that, then fine, you've been buffaloed. If you don't, then fine, your synapses are firing. But that's not the point. The point is what went on there. Why won't you just provide the details? And then it's quickly shuffling it off. I'm going to donate all to charity. Yeah. And of course, the mention of him reporting the losses. Well, of course he's reporting the losses, not just the winnings, because, a guy throws nickels around like manhole covers, except when it's in support of his political ambitions. Tell us about the $10.3 million in income too. All these blind trusts you have offshore. Can we get some more color on that as well? I mean, I know you're not making decisions because you don't want to be subject to any conflicts of interest because you hold yourself to the highest ethical standards. That's fine. But what are your holdings? Family's holdings? Casinos? I heard you had one in Greece. The family. Somebody. I heard you had one near the Baku oil fields in Azerbaijan. True? Not true? I mean, let's just talk about it. Let's talk about the Pritzkers in the gaming industry. What's wrong with that? Given how big the gaming industry has become in Illinois, don't you think that's a legitimate topic of conversation? Well, this is the way it needs to be attacked, addressed. Carolina in Portage Park.
Good morning, Dan. I've been enjoying this. This past 2 weeks have been great shows.
Thank you.
First of all, you need to, I think, start doing shorts like the one you talk about, single man, and the woman expecting their man to be such and such and such, and like one of them, they expect men to be like good providers or something when they themselves are steep in debt. And we talk about, then maybe we can start some exposure for you. So you're so well-rounded, and I think you should be the next governor. Also, the Alcatraz getaway, where it's being held to a higher standard, okay? We can perhaps teach the value of mortification, maybe shorten, our way to purgatory by serving them breakfast for kings, a queen's lunch and a pauper's dinner. And in the Bible says, if the wicked are not punished, how are they supposed to know of their iniquities?
All right.
And more power to you, Dan. And I think you should really reconsider, running for governor again, because I'm ready to exit out of Chicago because of the political, corruption and all that.
Where are you going to go, Carolina, if you leave?
I used to live in Texas. I don't know, maybe in Florida, or maybe go back in Fort, to my native country and then back here. But it's ridiculous, the real property taxes. I'm a homeowner, and I came here like 4 decades ago, and I have seen the how do you call this, descent into abyss, I guess, if you will.
Yeah.
And political and moral decay of this country. Sadly.
Thanks for the call, Carolina. Good to hear from you. Appreciate that. Heather in Libertyville.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. I'm a tax accountant, and I just wanted to make a short comment about Pritzker's gambling winning. I want to point out that the law requires casinos to issue a tax form to people who win money, usually a 1099 form. And so if we want to know about Pritzker's winnings, we should ask him to just show his tax form so that we can see what he won there.
Absolutely, and then you document your losses too, so that you can so you can net out your winnings, right?
Yeah, it's up to him to document his losses.
Right. Yes, thanks for the call. No, I agree. On occasion, I've gotten 1099 from a casino. Not nearly enough, unfortunately. More documenting my losses, but I know. That's why it's so simple. And again, there's no shame. Why are you so, why is he being so discreet? Giving us that aw shucks routine, like he did with Brett Baer yesterday.
Were you proud or embarrassed of announcing $1.4 million of?
Oh, neither one. It was just I did what anybody would do if you're telling the truth, right? You pay your taxes. I got really lucky. That's what happened. It's like somebody who won the lottery. You get really lucky. You're going to pay your taxes on it.
Yeah, you don't. 1.4 million or some number bigger than that, minus the losses. That's not like winning the lottery, because you got to grind it out over many, many hands. Unless you put 1.4 million down and you said let it roll. Let's play one hand and walk away. And I don't think that's what happened. So not quite. And again, I'm neither proud nor embarrassed. Well, great. Well, then let's just have a chat like a couple of regular guys, huh? You're a regular guy, aren't you? You pretend to be. Why don't you talk about it like a regular guy? Come on the show. We'll chat about it. I know how to play blackjack a little bit, too. Have a fun conversation. Instruct the kids how to play blackjack, since that's how we're financing schools and everything else in Illinois. Ed in Vegas. Perfect timing.
Kind of, yeah. Dan, I just wanted to say that I think I know the proper pronunciation of your last name, which is Prof T, because I know your father is Protagoras. and because your father's Protagoras, you should really have some kind of tweet that people like, say, DeSantis could see, because you seem to win all these issues with logic. And Prof T is just kind of a short for professor of truth rather than a professor of some party ideology.
Thanks for the call. Let's close it out with Chuck from Delavan. Chuck.
Hey, you seen that thing with Trump flying around dropping pooage? I was there when Dave Matthews' bus dropped pooage on everybody in the Illinois River. There, that was pretty good. Hey, everybody come up here. Farmers got turnips planted everywhere and come up and steal the turnips. Snake Road is yellow. And we got Duo Saturday night at 8:30. And everybody get up here.
All right, thanks for the call, Chuck. It's turnip time north of the Cheddar Curtain. Good to know. Thanks, everybody, calling in. It is now 9 o'clock, AM 560, WIND, Chicago.
Another boat got blown up. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. It is the 10th one in President Trump's crackdown on illegal drug trafficking off the coast of South America, as he also considers going after land targets in foreign countries.
I don't think we're going to necessarily